Absolutely brilliant and beautiful astrology soulmates, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026. And it is not often that I have to use very big words when we're talking about astrology, but July 2026 is not just another month in astrology. We are seeing extraordinary astrology this month, and it is one of the most important months of the entire year. And this is because our outer planets, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, they are all in conversation. They are all being activated this month. They are all being repeatedly activating this month. So this is a month that means that not only are we going to look at the personal and individual breakdowns for the signs, but collectively, this is telling a massive story for us all month long. Now, if we've never met before, I'm practicing professional astrologer Stormie Grace. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And I hope that you hear something on this channel in this forecast that makes you want to stick around and bring astrology closer into your life. There are going to be timestamps in the description box down below to go to your individual signs, but I am going to encourage you to take a look at the general video. And before we really jump in, I just want you to know that this month's astrology is so big, so layered, so important, that I'm going to actually be doing a deeper dive on all of these transits with my friend Celeste from Astrology with Celeste, and we'll be unpacking all of July together, the bigger collective themes, the evolutionary meaning, the alignments personally, globally. We are going to go into that, and we've got a couple transits in July that we are both particularly keen on sharing with you because we absolutely believe that they are important. And because there's so much happening in July as well, we will be covering them much more detail, the aspects much more in detail in the weekly forecast. So I genuinely hope that you are subscribed, you have the notification bell on so that when that weekly video comes up, we can really kind of get into the tissue of what's going on. It's such a layered month of these transits. So make sure you've subscribed, you got your notification bell on, and always, 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 you can leave a comment in the comment section down below, and we do answer those comments. Absolutely 100%. What am I talking about? I'm the one who answers the comments down there in the description or in the comment section down below. Okay, my beautiful friends, if you're ready for a reading, if you're ready for some Venus reset, if you're ready to learn astrology, it's all in the description box down below. Right now, let me get our month on screen so that we can take a look at what's going on date by date. Now, what makes July so remarkable is that we're witnessing several chapters of a larger story, and they're all kind of converging at once. You know, Pluto is here in Aquarius. Neptune is in this early journey into Aries. Uranus has recently moved into Gemini, but these are our professor planets. They set the syllabus for what the world and the globe is going to be doing. And, you know, doing the stuff on the syllabus is not optional. Now, they're also generational planets. So when they begin speaking to one another through these harmonious aspects, we're going to see them speaking to each other through, they start to give signatures of changes. And those are the changes that we are going to see ripple through society. We're going to see technology, leadership, the economy change. The identity of whole countries is going to get different. And as always, human beings will begin to organize ourselves differently in our collective structures. Now, at the same time, we've got Venus who moved into the vibration Venus. We've got Jupiter who's moved into the vibration of Leo. Jupiter becomes kind of this translator between these larger shifts that we're having, particularly collectively. And Jupiter is asking us here in Leo to find the meaning and apply our wisdom to what is happening. It asks us to understand how these collective changes are connected to our own personal growth and our own personal development and the life that we're creating as well. So we have got plenty to be looking at. So let's take a minute. You've got the dates up on the screen. Let's really talk through a bit of what's going on. As July is opening up, it's opening up with a bang. You know, I could not have planned a better transit for like the 4th of July than Mars and Uranus meeting together here at 3 degrees of Gemini. Now, because Mars is our planet of action, motivation, movement, but also conflict, when it comes together with Uranus, the planet of awakening, surprise, breakthrough, disruption, together they can create an energy that is explosive. It's highly combustible energy. Now, what can this look like? It can look like sudden developments, shocking announcements, something unexpected happens. You have an unexpected change of plans or something like that. Something is going on in technology. There's a technological disruption that is going on. We may be seeing people be very focused and use this energy in a very constructive way. So they're very quickly making changes. Now, Uranus is also in Gemini, and Gemini rules information, communication, transportation, data, news cycles, the media. These things will all be particularly charged. Now, we'll also see a little bit of support, though, because Mars is going to immediately have a sextile here with Neptune, who's over in Aries, and then on the 5th, a trine with Pluto, who's in Aquarius. These aspects, I think, at the beginning of the month help us to channel the intensity that is here with Mars in Uranus into something more productive. It's a productive collective and a productive personal change. So instead, at the beginning of the month, of simply reacting to all that we're hearing, all of the changes that are going on, it's giving us an opportunity to work very consciously with it. And think about this energy supporting you, taking inspired action, creating the momentum, finding practical ways to move things forward, even though we are still combating a fair amount of uncertainty in this little world, okay? Now, on the 7th, we're going to see that Neptune steps into its retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries. And Neptune asks us to reevaluate or to examine where we've been operating from that is more fantasy than reality. In Aries, this becomes a pretty personal question because it's like the illusions of who you thought you were, or the illusions or the stories that I tell myself about who I am begin to fall away. What are the dreams that you still have that are still with you? They belong to you. They're going to help shape your next identity. Which are the identities, your identity doesn't fit that dream anymore. It's outlived its purpose, but you still been letting it hang on, right? So as Neptune begins this months-long process of resting, it's really a call-in time, I think, for spiritual refinement for us, for release, for self-discovery. We've got all of that on the docket. On the 9th, we'll see Venus move into Virgo, where she's going to remain until August. Venus in Virgo invites us to express our love, call in our love, attract to us practical, supportive things, consistency, service, meaningful effort. Right? So relationships in your life may become less about being any kind of grand gesture. Things that come to you in the forms of abundance may be less financial, and you may find that there are more people showing up to be in support and of service of you. So whatever you need to do that helps you soften yourself here to support, receiving, making small improvements so that you can receive. That's really what Venus in this particular area is trying to do. Now, the middle of the month brings really some of the most anticipated astrology of 2026. We've been waiting to talk about this. I'm going to tell you, every astrologer, we've been waiting to talk about this. And it really kicks off for us on July 15th, where we've got Uranus at 4 degrees of Gemini and a sextile to Neptune at 4 degrees of Aries. This is a sextile aspect. It says this is a pocket of opportunity and we can intelligently take action on it. This aspect connects innovation with vision. Uranus here says, wake up, I want progress. Let's just look at this a little bit differently. And Neptune wants the inspiration. So together, they create this opportunity to imagine new possibilities, begin new momentum building towards those things. Now, collectively, this, I think, is really going to correspond and be in alignment with some kind of breakthrough in technology. I just can't, the media, education, something about communication. There's a system that is emerging and it's going to hold information differently. Now, me personally, we're all going to have to realize that the future is not something that happens to us. It is something we help create. It really makes me think of that saying when they say, the universe leads those who follows, but it absolutely will drag those who don't want to walk. Create, be in the creation, however you need to be that. Just 3 days later, we get to the 18th, and Uranus is going to form a trine to Pluto, who's at 4 degrees of Aquarius. This is, again, another rare outer planet connection, and it speaks collectively to how we're going to be transforming. Pluto has been in Aquarius, and it's already changing how we think about power, how we're thinking about technology, how we're thinking about social systems, community. And Uranus is accelerating that process. Uranus is like, no, we have to get on with this. So I think that this is one of those aspects that our historians are eventually going to point to down the road, and they're going to say this was a major societal transition, right? So then we are going to arrive at a transit I think can be personally, but also collectively significant for the month. We've got the 20th and the 21st. Jupiter, who's in Leo, is going to form this trine to Neptune, also in opposition to Pluto, and a sextile to Uranus. This is all happening the 20th, the 21st. But Jupiter, again, like I said earlier on, I see Jupiter here as the bridge. It's more of a bridge, and it's the bridge between our personal lives and this more collective movement that we're undertaking. Most importantly to me, though, is looking at this Jupiter-Pluto opposition because it is serving as a checkpoint for all of us, where we've got to go back and look at who we were. Who were you 5-6 years ago? What were you building? What fears were you carrying? What have you survived? How have you transformed? What did you release? What have you outgrown? This is a wonderful opposition because it represents a place where we can meet ourselves in the middle of who we were and who we're changing to be. It is a moment, beautiful, beautiful friends, to pause and to recognize. Give yourself credit for the growth that has happened. Even if it's been gradual, even if it's been slow, even if you took a step forward and then 3 back, have you changed? Answer those questions and then let me know in the comment section down below, because I know you've survived, transformed, released, and outgrown something. Now on the 22nd, the sun is going to enter Leo. So happy birthday to my Leo friends and happy Leo season to all of us. Leo season, I feel like it just gives to all of us. But it's an invitation to reconnect with not needing a spotlight, but being the spotlight. Joy, pleasure, play, courage, leadership, self-expression, romancing your life. And I feel like this year's Leo season feels particularly important because Jupiter is here and the sun is going to pretty immediately engage not only with outer planets, but engage with the outer planets that Jupiter has just activated, right? So the questions here of authenticity and am I being the big light that I am almost become unavoidable. Am I living from my heart or am I living and moving from fear? Am I expressing myself or am I just like playing a role? What am I doing here? This is going to encourage during Leo season for us to answer those leadership questions for ourselves. Now on the 23rd, Mercury is going to station direct back at that 16 degrees of Cancer. Now Mercury is not done with its retrograde cycle. It still needs to get to post-retrograde time on August 6th, but while that shadow time is going to continue for a few weeks, we might begin to regain a bit of clarity. These conversations are going to move on, these decisions, these plans, emotional understandings, because Mercury is retrograde in Cancer. Information that just felt confusing or stuck might start to make sense and begin to move forward. Now, in the final week of July, still so much going on. On the 25th, we've got Neptune forming a sextile with Pluto. The sextile again says this is a pocket of opportunity and we are going to intelligently take action. And I think that this is a reinforcement of those themes we saw earlier in the month: collective evolution, spiritual transformation, having compassion with ourselves while we're changing into a world we've never lived in before. But on the 26th, it really has my attention because Saturn is going to station retrograde at 14 degrees of Aries. For all of us, this is going to be a Saturnian retrograde, an encouragement for us to maturely review the foundations we are building and make adjustments where we need to so that they are solid AF by the time we get to the end of this year. Now, finally, at the end of the month, on the 29th, we've got a full moon that's happening at 6 degrees of Aquarius. Oh, I didn't even say it. I was so excited about it. But also on the 26th, we've got the North Node, the transiting North Node, moving into Aquarius. This is going to be huge in our 18-month story that is coming up. For every single one of us, as this transiting North Node moves to Aquarius, it presents a destiny point for us. So we are collectively, humanly, and as a species being asked to move towards the more Aquarian things: community over ego, collaboration over I can do it myself, technology over just social systems. It's more like technology and social systems come together, right? Equality plus the collective responsibility, finding our place in whatever the larger meaning is. And this is why we talk about this. And I think we see the end of the influencer being so important, because it's that South Node theme in Leo. I need validation. I'm performing for approval. This is ego attachment. It's excessive. Instead, it's more about now losing that, leading from the ego without considering the group, and moving more into a community mindedness. I really feel like for each of us, if we can remember that as the North Node moves into this position, the people, places, and things we need to escort us forward are going to show up and help us do it. We're not going to have to do this alone. Okay, on the 29th, we've got that full moon happening at 6 degrees, 30 minutes of Aquarius. And then simultaneously, we'll see that the Sun and Jupiter meet up at 6 degrees of Leo. So this is a powerfully full mooning oppositional kind of day. And I think it's pretty emotionally charged as far as things go as well. Because Aquarius here, under this full moon, is asking us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. It's asking us to consider our place in the collective, and we really might. As we watch systems change, this place of, yes, you are a part of the collective, but what do you do to actually add to the collective will be a massive question that I think will be put in many people's face. Can you add to the collective, or what is it? What is the version of what you can do that will add to this collective? Now, as we're also seeing the Sun and Jupiter come together, I think the transits of the day remind us that while we're these unique individuals, we are also members of a larger human family, and we have to be looking at where we are carrying our weight. And that may require a greater amount of authenticity. That may require a greater look at where we need stronger community to be that authentic person, and where we're ready to maybe release, again, these old versions of ourselves that don't fit anymore, right? I have so many thoughts on this. I can't wait to talk about this moon as it comes up for our July lunation video. Now, by the end of July, I think that many of us are going to look back and really realize that we are standing on different footing, not just as people, but as a globe. I think we're going to look back and we're going to say we are in a different place than we began. Now, is it going to be something that we love and is incredibly fun and feels good? I don't know that I can say that. I don't know that the pathway, the hallways before change always feel the best. But I think that this kind of transformational, extraordinary astrology is designed to let us know that it is going to work, it is going to change, it is going to move, and also that we will be okay. All right, my beautiful friends, I love you a ton. Click to those timestamps down below and check out what's going on for your individual signs for the month. Please leave me a comment down below. I would love to hear how this important month is unfolding for you, and I'll be sharing how it's unfolding for me as well. I love you all. I'll see you in August. Absolutely brilliant and beautiful Aries friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026 in Aries. If there was a month that I would tell you to be paying attention, this is definitely the month, because this month is not just about interesting shifts in your personal dynamic. Of course, this will be a huge piece of the story, but one of the reasons that July is standing out so dramatically, that all astrologers are really needing to take note, is because all of our professor planets, all of our outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, are all in conversation this month. Not to mention, your ruling planet, as we're coming into this month, Mars, is going to have an activation to absolutely all of them. So this is not only the collective shift that is happening for us, and what shifts out there in the collective, your changes will need to be in alignment with that. So make sure it's almost like you need to be in the right kind of vibration. Now, because Neptune and Saturn are in your sign, they've been traveling through your sign, and they're both bringing you to this space of not becoming something else. You've already become it. I absolutely believe it, but you're having to live it like on your feet, right? You're in your becoming on your feet. So the question of who are you becoming, I think that is old news. I think let's see that Aries dance now is really what's going on. Now, one of the things I'm really kind of fascinated about in this particular month for you is that historically, we have got more generations, particularly in English-speaking places, right, alive at the same time. We've got some Pluto Leo, some Pluto Virgos, Libra, Scorpio, Sag, Caps, and of course our new baby Aquarians. Each generation that is going to be a part of this societal shift that you will be being the next version in the becoming, each generation carries a very different signature and understanding of what leadership is, what community is, what technology is, what freedom is. And so why does that matter when we're talking about the Aries forecast? Because Aries this month, Pluto and the North Node are also going to be moving through your 11th house. And this is massive information for you, I think. You know, friendships, communities, networks, your audience, your future vision for yourself is massively under review and change this month. And it will continue on for at least 18 months with the nodes there, but it's going to continue on as well with Pluto being there. And the question is going to get down to causes and conditions for you, Aries. It's like, what are you doing to contribute to the collective? What does that look like? And what does that mean to you? So like I said, I don't think that there's any more of this talk about the futures asking you to become something, Aries. It's like, no, you already are. Now, what does that version of this Aries do? Okay. So July is going to help you move your story forward. Let's break this down. At the very beginning of the month, on the 4th and the 5th, we've got Mars, your ruling planet, coming into mass activation. But the first one is that Mars is going to come into conjunction with Uranus, who's over here in Gemini. This will be at 3 degrees of Gemini. Then it'll make a sextile to Neptune. And later that day, then on the 5th, we're going to see that it comes into the trine with Pluto. This is significant, again, because this is your ruling planet. This is where your energy is at, where it's moving, and it's kicking off all 3 societal planets. So something that you're likely doing or taking on or moving towards right now, Aries, it has a bigger than you purpose. It has a bigger than just this community, just this idea, purpose behind it now as well. Now, one of the things I want to say, Mars and Uranus here, they're activating your 3rd house. So communication, learning, teaching, speaking, things having to do with siblings or your network. Your mindset has got to get very different, Aries. It's got to get very different. And some of these differences that are needed, the information or the need to change is going to arrive quickly. It comes really quickly here in the beginning of the month. You might suddenly decide to launch that project. You're like, yep, I'm going to do it. Or you hear something very quickly from a sibling and you're like, wow, that's really powerful information, right? The energy is fast, it's exciting, it's innovative, it's all of these things, Aries, but it is changing. Now, one thing I want to bring your caution to here at the beginning of the month is that while all of this energy is here and there is this movement, it is about intentional, mindful, conscious movement, Aries, because when we put Mars and Uranus together, they can be explosive. They can be impatient. They can be too fiery. As a matter of fact, I would really be cautioning you around if you're using fireworks or in the space of things that do explosive things, to include remembering people likely in the beginning of the month in your space can be more reactive. But because Mars is simultaneously like reaching out to Neptune over here in your first house and then reaching out to Pluto over here in the 12th house, I also think this push or this explosion of energy in your space, something a little bit deeper is here. It's again, you're not making a decision for a week down the road. You're not just making a decision for July. You are making the kind of decision that is going to govern the next piece of your life for years to come. And it's because something has shifted in the way that you are thinking. New information has presented itself. And because your thinking's changed, it means your future is going to change. Now, when we get to July 7th, we're going to see that Neptune who's been traveling in your first house is going to be in retrograde. Now, as Neptune stations retrograde, I always like to describe it like when Neptune is direct, we kind of, we can go into the ether, we can create, we can really imagine, we move in between the real tangible world and the more mystical space. But as Neptune goes retrograde, it's almost like reality gets super concrete. Right? It feels super concrete where you want to daydream something, but you can't. So Neptune now going retrograde here in your first house has dissolved an old identity. And it's like, you become too small for that old identity. That's not going to work anymore. Or that old identity was built for a different place or a different time. It's not going to work now. An old definition of what you thought it meant to be masculine, feminine, successful, beautiful. All of these words are now up for debate. And as Neptune is retrograde, that shift will be causing you here in July to really re-question some old goals. You're re-questioning goals, Aries. You're re-questioning a direction you've been thinking you want to go in your life. You might just also just be naturally feeling more disinterested in being in some kind of performance, and you're like, I really want to do something that matters, or I want to be in a flow that matters. Now, this transit can be confusing as well because Neptune is still Neptune. It's like, what part of this is faith and trusting the process, and what part is me being blind and delusional that this is going to work out? But spiritually, this is actually a bit of a beautiful place because it asks us to meet ourselves again, to come to the middle and say, where am I grounded in myself? Where am I centered in my truth? And what level of faith am I willing to travel forward with and investigating? So I'll be interested to see what the Neptune retrograde period brings into your life, because it's really going to ask, when the mask is off, Aries, like, who are you? How are you being? What do you believe? And what inspires you to move towards it? On July 14th, we've got a new moon that's happening at 21 degrees, and this is going to light up your fourth house, home, family, real estate, property. Before you can build this next future, you're already moving towards it in July, and the world is shifting its pieces to come along with you. But before you can build it, you have to have a strong emotional place and some good roots to stand in, right? As the world is shifting around you, people are discovering, particularly you, Aries, that emotional security, roots, family, connection matter more than they did in years before. It was like, oh, I can't stand my family, I want to move away, or, but there's a recentering down into this because there's a sense of needing to be nourished. So I really want you to think about this new moon, and as you plant your seeds of intention to begin something new around your fourth house, you're asking the question, what nourishes you? Where are your roots, and what is restoring you? And maybe you're creating new roots somewhere, right? Or you've been someplace, but you've been a bit more nomadic in some way, and now you're actually creating those roots. When we get to the middle of the month, we really start to look at some astrology that I don't honestly have another word, Aries, to describe it except for extraordinary, right? We are going to see that our professor planets start coming into conversation. Uranus is going to have a sextile to Neptune on the 15th. We'll see that Uranus then trines to Pluto on the 18th. On the 20th, brings Jupiter in conversation to both Neptune and Pluto. And then the 21st brings Jupiter in conversation and sextile to Uranus. And this is not normal astrology. This is not normal astrology. This is, we're watching a system collectively change, and we're watching it and going through it together. This is the way we communicate, the way we think about economics, education, transportation, AI, of course, social systems. This is all going to start to look really different. And these are the kinds of planetary conversations that when I think about them, we're going to look back, our children are going to look back, and there's going to be stuff that gets really put in history books around this time, okay? All right, now let's talk a little bit more. Let's bring it down to you. As Jupiter gets into this trine with Neptune, Aries, for you, this is a greater faith in what is actually possible for yourself. Right? A greater faith in what is actually possible. Like it's you've been envisioning things kind of in a way in you wanted to control it. You wanted to control and know every area, and that let you have the delusion that you were being really faithful, right? And now it's expanding and you have this big expansive idea that more is possible. I also think that this is going to be a really good transit for you, Aries, to reconnect with some kind of dream or idea or vision that you have. It's kind of been put off to the side. And if you go back to it in some way, you're allowed to be larger than life, right? You're allowed to be this big in your future. Now, Jupiter is going to also oppose Pluto. And this is interesting because this will bring a realization, I think, for you, Aries, in your communities and your friendships, in the future that you've been saying that you want, that you've got to be aligned with the right people. Who is coming forward to build this future with you? Who are you connected to? Who are you tied to, right? Maybe a different community feels really more aligned, even though it's like, I don't speak the same language. I don't really know them. I have these ideas. But this is going to bring a change in. And then when Jupiter comes into a sextile with Uranus, it's like it opens this door, Aries, and you're going to be able to see some unexpected opportunities present themselves. Surprise invitations, out of nowhere kind of breakthrough that happens, and something is coming to your doorway. Now, what I can say is, I think it's disguised. It's an opportunity. It could be really good for you. It could be exactly what you need, but it is disguised as something else. It doesn't look like an opportunity. It might look like something else. So really, Aries, I'm going to encourage you to stay open. Okay. When we get to the 22nd and the 23rd, and we start to move to this half of the month, the 22nd, of course, is going to bring in Leo energy, which is a fellow fire energy. Here, you're going to be invited, Aries, to laugh, to play, to go back to your joy, your pleasure, your play, to remember that when the sun is in Leo, you are the spotlight. You've had these weeks of this internal reflection, looking at roots, and Leo reminds you life is meant to be lived, right? You're going to expand here. So it's a really supportive transit for your season, and I would really encourage you to create, to play, to laugh, to get back to being as Leo as you possibly can be. And remember that becoming this next version, sometimes when you are between changes, you know, you're not this anymore, but you're not this over here yet, that goo in the middle, we can forget to try to peek our heads up and play a little bit. But you're learning to be you on your feet this month, so play. You're alive. Life is about joy. Now, we're also going to see that Mercury comes direct in Cancer this month. So any lack of clarity around home, family, real estate, property, domestic things, living situations, these conversations should begin to become clearer. And certainly by the time we end the Mercury retrograde cycle, August 6th, your plan should be in more motion moving forward. When we get to the 25th, we've got Neptune in a sextile to Pluto, and Saturn is also on the 26th, going to be stationing retrograde, and we will see the North Node move into Aquarius. So you see, every freaking week here in July, there are things going on for you, Aries. Now, one of the most important points of the month, I think, is the Saturn going retrograde, because as it's going retrograde, you're reviewing yourself. You're reviewing all of these things that you brought in. You're reviewing commitments that you are taking. You are reviewing if your actions are aligned with the future that you're saying that you want, right? You're going to be asked if you're taking responsibility for your growth, but you're getting to do it in a review. You don't have to bring all of these new things in. It will be a review time. And Saturn is not here for the shortcuts. Saturn's not interested in any of that. It wants substance and wants you to work for it and demonstrate your mastery. But then when you have it, you can have it. Now, on the same day, that North Node is going to shift into Aquarius. So now it's pulling you towards your destiny communities, your destiny networks, audiences, friendships. It's pulling you forward. It's saying for the next 18 months, your soul growth is pulling you towards some kind of collaboration. We got to be in collaboration. You got to be in some kind of community, some kind of contribution. What are you doing in your contribution, Aries? It's a really powerful reminder for all of us, I think, as this North Node moves into Aquarius, that we do not build our new futures alone. So whatever has been a little bit more isolating, you're likely going to start to be called over this next 18 months out. And anything you're trying to just do on your own, very Leo, it might start to get harder to get that thing to actually roll out. On July 29th, as we're going to close out this month, we're going to have the full moon that's happening in Aquarius at 6 degrees. And we're also going to see that the sun comes into a conjunction with Jupiter. I love these energies, and this is also going to be happening at that 6 degrees. Now, the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. This conversation here between your 11th house and your 5th house on this day, I think is really the question of your gifts and you as a gift to the world, Aries. You know, there are people that you are meant to share your creativity with, your being, your light, but it's meant to be in a community that really benefits from having your sunlight shine into them, because your contribution goes towards something larger. It's not just to benefit your life, you know, but I do think because this is a full moon happening in Aquarius, there might be a friendship, there might be a group connection or some kind of collaborative effort that is being brought to an end, but a long-term goal on the other side of whatever you let go, Aries, also feels incredibly achievable. And it's like, you know, you're on the road of your own happy destiny, right? There's something here that makes me feel like you have this recognition. I just see you seeing the world. It's like your world's just opened up a little bit and you're seeing it's so much bigger than just you. Right? And your light belongs in that. So July is a busy month, Aries. There's a lot going on. Thank you for your time. I hope it makes sense. Please grab your chart, look at these degrees, look at these dates as we're traveling through July, because there is just a lot going on almost every day and certainly every week as we move down the July timeframe. Let me know how your month goes. I love you, and I will see you in the comment section down below. Brilliant and beautiful Taurus friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026. And Taurus, this month is a month that is very busy every day, every week. You're going to hear astrologers talking about like crazy because there is a lot shifting, and we are not having just normal astrology this month because we have got our outer planets, the professors, still in their early degrees, but they are having a lot of conversation. This means that these activations are putting on societal shifts. We are going to really see a jump in the technology, leadership, economics, culture, art, music, of course, all the things we love. Those are going to change as well. But this is a big month. Now, you know, I don't really grandize things, but this is a big month. So we need to be paying attention. Now, because some of these interactions are happening through important pieces of your chart, It's not a month where I feel like you're going to just be kind of witnessing these changes that are happening around you. I almost think that you are becoming the fit that is needed for this next society on your feet, right? Like you are participating in making change. You are not becoming, but you're taking who you've become and you're putting it in motion on your feet out in the world. July to me, for our Taurus energy, asks this one big question: what kind of life are you building? And does it still fit the person that you have become? Right? Getting really current with that particular question. Let's jump in and see what this month has to offer. Right at the beginning of the month, we are coming in hot and ready to roll. On the 4th, we've got Mars in a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini. They're meeting up at 3 degrees, if I can get that out of my mouth. Now, later, we're going to see that Mars forms this sextile with Neptune, and this is just all in the same day. And then we move to the 5th, and we've got Mars in a trine to Pluto. So not only have we had Mars kick off this activation of all of these outer planets, but Mars is a personal planet. So likely you have done something or will be in action in some way, Taurus, making something happen for you around your money, around your possessions, around your self-worth, but around the way you allow resources to flow towards you, and it fits into this bigger societal story. Now, Mars and Uranus can be explosive when they come together. So I do want to remind you, whatever you're doing, thinking, working, acting on, particularly at the beginning of this month, please let it be very conscious, because it can be impatient, it can be explosive, it can be fiery. I'm going to caution you against doing weird things with fireworks or things that create fire, because it can just be so explosive. You want to be in action quite consciously. Now, other things that can come up here, I think, are really, it's not unexpected, but it's like a sudden development. Something happens around your finances. There's an unexpected expense, but it could also be an unexpected opportunity that presents itself. I love it. I can see easily for many of the Taurus crew that some kind of new income or resource stream is coming your way, but there are some really important conversations on the table about money, right? For some of you, it will be changes to your relationship, or you realize that a relationship is really changing, and so you need to reevaluate it in some ways. And again, remember, whatever it is, Mars and Uranus create change and movement quickly. You've been trying to decide on some things and you've kind of been in delay about it, you're going to likely make it quite quickly, okay? As we continue on and we're moving towards the 7th of the month, we see that we've got Neptune stepping into its retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries. So this is back in your 12th house space. As Neptune goes retrograde, Neptune's been kind of dissolving the identity. It's been bringing a quietness, a need to really connect with your intuition. Things have been dissolving or transitioning out of your story, and they've not been insignificant, but it's been happening in a quieter place of the chart. But I want you to remember that in the 12th house space where Neptune is working, some of the biggest transformations that we have and that happen to us, they happen way beneath the surface before they actually become something visible that we see in the light. So in the 12th house, there can be illusions here, but as Neptune goes retrograde, the illusion is removed, and it's like life and reality get very concrete, right? We remove the illusion around what we've been telling ourselves is possible, around what we believe, and we have to confront an old fear that comes up, because now we're just in solid reality. There's no really moving in between the worlds. We have to have the grief, whether it's new grief, old grief, and it becomes very visible. We need to start to bring that up and out. If there are old patterns that have been on the table, these become visible as well so that they can get worked out. Neptune retrograde is a time for healing. It's removing the fuzz from around the edges of your story that make things look blurry, and it's instead giving them to the light so that as you release them, you can be healed and ready for the next chapter in your story. So pay attention to that. What's happening in your intuition, your dreams, your patterns, the symbols that are following you around. When we get to the 14th, we're going to see a new moon happening in Cancer at 21 degrees. And for you, this is going to light up your third house space, communications, teaching, speaking, writing, contracts, technology, your network, things having to do with everyday interactions, or maybe something with your siblings. This is a lovely lunation for new ideas. You're planting your seeds of intention. You're having some new conversations. You're having different opportunities come up. You're taking on a writing project or something like that, right? There's new plans that are available, but it is about creation. So you'll need to keep that in mind, Taurus. You need to plan and you need to create. You realize that something that you've learned, you've had some real experience with it, and now you can teach it or share it with other people, but you've got to be willing to put yourself out there to do it. The 15th through the 21st of this month, it just lights up the sky. It just lights up the sky. On the 15th, we've got Uranus in a sextile to Neptune. On the 18th, we've got Uranus in a trine to Pluto. On the 20th, we've got Jupiter in a trine to Neptune and in an opposition to Pluto. On the 21st, we've got Jupiter in a sextile to Uranus. I'm telling you, this is not just like our normal yearly ordinary transits. This is our conversation that's saying even the world around you is about to shift in such a way that how you show up, how you contribute now, what you believe in will fit a new current reality. And these planets are also shaping generations, and we have multiple generations of Tauruses alive at the same time, which means we have very different ideas about how things should be going. But all of these transits correlate with social evolution. So collectively, as these developments in technology, AI, economics, education, resources are all coming up, this still has an impact on you, right? Uranus is continuing to move through your second house. So this is about getting you unstuck around your money, your values, your resources. Neptune is continuing to travel through that 12th house like we talked about. It's healing, it's spiritual growth, it's trusting whatever you call your higher power. Pluto is over here in your space of career and reputation. So something massive is changing, and Jupiter's traveling through Leo, through your 4th house. So your family is changing as well. Can you kind of see the story that we're going for here? As Jupiter and Neptune come together, I hope that this trine brings you a beautiful healing and a realizing that more is possible. Not that more is expected or necessary, Taurus, but more is possible. Faith, spiritual restoration, creative inspiration, these are what will restore, I think, your faith and connection to what is possible. Now, when we see Jupiter come into this opposition with Pluto, this will likely create a pretty powerful conversation for you around your connection to work and to home. These are in opposition. They're going in different directions. Home and career are opposing each other, your public life versus your private life. You may realize that your definition of what makes you successful is changed and is evolving, and you're evolving away from something. It doesn't mean you have to walk away from it completely, but the question of like, you'll go, why am I building all of this? What is this for? Why am I doing it? If you don't feel like you have a good answer to that, Taurus, you might be letting that go. Now, the next day we'll see Jupiter come into this sextile with Uranus, and this is breakthroughs, opportunities, invitations, information, financial things can come up, some kind of development in your finances, you're getting a breakthrough in money, you have an expense that's showing up, something like that, but it's pretty innovative. I would encourage you mid-month, I would encourage you all of July to stay really very flexible. Now, on the 22nd, we see the sun move into Leo. We're bringing in Leo fire energy, fellow fixed energy, and Leo is going to ask you to reconnect with your play and what really matters, not what impresses people, not maybe what an identity of yours used to cover before, but what is it now? Now, at the same time, we're going to see that Mercury is coming direct here in Cancer, and we've been traveling through this Mercury retrograde journey since June. So all of the things that were coming up in this Cancerian place, ideas, conversations, all the plans begin to move forward with a bit more ease. And of course, they'll continue moving forward as we get to August 6th, and we actually end the post-retrograde shadow time. Now, on July 25th, we are going to see that Neptune comes into a sextile with Pluto, and then on the 26th, 6th, Saturn is going to station retrograde. And at the same time, the North Node is going to move into Aquarius. Okay. I think that this Saturnian retrograde is really important. It's occurring in your 12th house. So there's some deep soul work here, right? There's some things going on behind the scenes. What needs closure? What fears are influencing you, the choices that you're making and that you have been making, Taurus, right? These are going to be things that I think come to the surface. Now, as this North Node comes into Aquarius, into your 10th house, you are coming into your leadership. You're being pulled towards your career, towards visibility, towards what is your actual contribution, towards your purpose, towards your legacy. But it was going to have to shift and really add to the collective. Over the next 18 months, the soul growth will pull you, likely, Taurus, towards visibility. So get ready for that. And hopefully you've been doing your Venus reset and you are ready to receive the visibility that comes with that. Now, when we get to the 29th and we are going to close out this month, we've got a full moon happening in Aquarius, and we've also got the Sun and Jupiter coming together in conjunction here in Leo. Now, the full moon's going to ask you to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to pivot in some way, and this will be around your career, Taurus. And I am telling you with everything in my soul, I think that something in your career is really going to hit a turning point, or whatever it is that you do in the world, whatever title we call you. And you are going to value it so highly that it actually pops you out of where you've been and into a whole different place. Because you'll realize that the contribution that maybe you've been doing has been okay, but now it needs to have real impact. So I'll be curious to hear what that means to you as I say that. Let me know in the comment section down below. But at the same time, we see the Sun and Jupiter coming together here in your 4th house, home, family, real estate, property, your roots. There is this conversation and culmination that is happening for you this month, Taurus, between your public life, your work life, and your home life, between what is actually considered success to you and what has meaning. So as we're closing this month, this recognition can be you're having a realization around it. You're like, yeah, that's not really that important to me anymore. Here's what matters to me more in the legacy that I'm building and how I actually contribute. Lot going on in July. Please let me know how this is unfolding for you in the comment section down below. Let me know how, as I said certain things, what did it kick up or kick off for you that you already know are in the works? We'll have Neptune retrograde. We've got Pluto retrograde. Saturn's coming retrograde. So we're in a review time for sure. So some of the things that are coming up are not going to be new inventions. They're going to be things that you're like, yeah, I've already known this and now I need to actually be living it on my feet. I'm thinking on my feet. I'm becoming on my feet this month because this is what actually matters to me, my ambition, my well-being, and my legacy. All right, Taurus, I love you a ton and I'll see you next month. My absolutely brilliant and beautiful Gemini friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026. And let me tell you what, July is a month that we are going to be paying attention to. Now, I'm really not I'm not a fan of grandizing things, but when we do talk about the July 2026 landscape, it is massive. The astrology is not normal astrology, and it's absolutely extraordinary. We have got at the beginning of the month our professor planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. All of these planets are in conversation, which tells us, Gemini, that there's no way to look at this month just through the lens of how does this impact Gemini, because it's collective. Collectively, societally, we are shifting. And not to mention that we are doing that while we have multiple generations alive with multiple different ideas of what freedom, liberty, leaderships, and economics, education, what it all looks like. So we are really needing to evolve beyond the belief systems and the structural systems that we've had before. And this is a month where, as the planets are talking to each other, you're in the game on your feet, Gemini. There's no spectatorness to it this month, which doesn't mean go run out and freak out and super get busy, right? I'm a big fan of holding your center, staying soft so that you have the empowerment to see where you need to pay closer attention. But this month, you are a part of the story. You are absolutely a part of the creation. Now, Jupiter is going to get involved in this, in all of these conversations this month. So this is again why astrologers are going to pay a little bit more attention, because Jupiter is going to start to expand what it touches. I feel like at the beginning right here, I just want to ask you, as you're even coming into July, and then of course, Gemini, when you get to the end of July, I would love to know, what do you believe now that you really didn't believe before? Come back and answer that for me in the comment section down below. All right, Gemini, in we go. Lots to talk about. So right at the beginning of the month, on the 4th and the 5th, we see Mars activating. Mars is moving. It's getting things going. On the 4th, Mars is going to come into a conjunction with Uranus at 3 degrees of Gemini, and then it's going to form that sextile with Neptune. But then just a day later, Mars is going to come into a trine with Pluto. Now, granted, these are considered to be the softer aspects. So there is motion, there is action. You're intelligently moving and taking opportunities. But for you, Gemini, because Mars and Uranus are in your first house of identity, your body, your energy, your confidence, it can feel a bit restless. It can feel like motivation times 10, like you have 15 tabs open. You know what I mean? It can also feel incredibly impatient. But more than anything, I think that it makes you feel ready to change. You're like, I'm ready to take the actions that bring some change, because the change will bring relief. But I do caution, Mars and Uranus, when they come together, they can be explosive, right? So I'm going to caution you to be paying attention around things that are explosive, like fireworks. This is the beginning of the month. It's 4th of July there in the United States, right? But also remembering that no one is exempt from this sky. So even people are easily explosive at this time. So the real smart use of this particular energy at the beginning of the month is conscious, intentional change. What are the beliefs that don't fit anymore? What are the outfits that don't fit anymore? What are the situations that don't fit anymore? That is a good use to kind of burst through them. It can be incredibly, incredibly, incredibly productive. Now, as Mars starts to form this sextile with Neptune, Neptune's in your 11th house. So as we're seeing your friendships, your communities, your aspirations for your future change, and then Mars is also in this trine to Pluto that's over in your 9th house space, Gemini, something about your beliefs, your worldview, maybe even something having to do with international travel or higher education, which would expand your belief system as well. It tells me all of these things are occurring for you right now, Gemini, and they're not superficial at all. These are not the small changes. This is connected to my future. I believe this, and this is connected to my future. So I need to be making these particular decisions. In the realm of also making decisions, just a few days later, we see Neptune step into its retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries. Now, as Neptune goes retrograde, when Neptune's direct, you can kind of reach between the worlds, and it feels a little bit more blurry. It can feel a little bit more confusing. But my experience is that when Neptune goes direct, it's like reality gets very concrete, and this can be a little bit distressing or freeing, just depending on how you experience it. But because this is also happening in your 11th house, Gemini, this is like it's removing illusions from you. Those people are not your friends. This group is not actually best aligned with you. Sometimes the illusion involves people and resources and groups, but sometimes it involves a dream or an aspiration or a desire that you've had for your own future, or expectations that you've had, and you see that they're not being met, or that you don't have them anymore, right? You're like, that is not what is going to work and makes me feel like this life is purposeful. So I just want to say that while Neptune is retrograde, because things get so concrete, it is also important to remember not to lose hope. It's very easy when Neptune's direct to kind of find a little bit of inspiration, move between the worlds. And now, instead of losing hope, let it be a conversation of, is the vision that you have for yourself really in alignment with the soul version of yourself? Is it really in alignment with the kind of society you want to live in and the kind of society you want to leave your legacy to? Now, as we get to the 14th, we'll have a new moon happening in Cancer at 21 degrees. So you're planting your seeds of intention. We're planting our seeds of intention for you, Gemini, in the terms of your finances. What do you want around your money? What are your beliefs, your values, your ideas around money, finances, your possessions, the talents that you have? How do you create resources to allow money to flow towards you? And then when it does flow towards you, can you receive it to create that greater stability, right? This is very much so a space of you can ask for it to come, but if emotionally you can't hold it, this would be a great place to be developing the talent to also be able to receive here. Now, between the 15th and the 21st, the sky just, the whole month lights up. But this really becomes a set of days where there's like boom, 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 back to back to back. So on the 15th, we've got Uranus in a sextile to Neptune. On the 18th, we've got Uranus in a trine to Pluto. On the 20th, we've got Jupiter in a trine to Neptune, but in an opposition over here to Pluto. And then on the 21st, we've got Jupiter in a sextile to Uranus. So when I'm telling you, we are not seeing just regular schmegular astrology here in July, this is what I mean. Collectively, these alignments are bringing our next breakthroughs. They're bringing our next where we're going next. You know, like on the journey, you get down and you see the hill coming and you're about to crest it. This is that kind of energy. So the future, I think, in this week for you actually might start to feel a little bit more clear. It's busy, but it might feel a little bit more clear. Uranus is moving through your first house. Neptune is moving here through your 11th house. Pluto's in your 9th house. Jupiter is expanding through your 3rd house over here. So there is a lot that I think we look back into July for you and you go, my life absolutely changed in July. My life absolutely changed. And if nothing else, your perspective changes so much in July, Gemini, that it changes your life. Now, I hope one of the gifts of this transit for you as well, these transits, is that your voice gets to change, Gemini. Like you're really using your voice because your perspective changes. So what you have to say will matter, particularly if it's involved in creating conversation that impacts the collective. Now, when Jupiter comes into this trine with Neptune on the 20th, this really caught my attention for you, because it's an expansion of imagination. Like you get to go back to it and realize that it's like hope and possibility. What you've hoped for, what you want, it is possible. You can see the future, maybe one that you envisioned a very long time ago, and now you're able to reconnect with it. Now, the Jupiter-Pluto opposition the same day will challenge beliefs that you've had about your own identity. I think that it will challenge and ask you to think bigger, travel further, learn more, but not in the ways that are like be bigger, better, more, faster. We've already lived that. This is from the inside out, where it's like create it, put it up out here. Stop assuming that your current situation is the final answer, right? Then we see Jupiter in the sextile to Uranus. And listen, Uranus gets involved, and this is a nice sextile where you can take action. So something is coming up that's unexpected. It's a surprise, maybe a surprise invitation, surprise innovation, an opportunity, an important conversation. Pay attention, particularly around the 20th. Pay attention all the time, but particularly pay attention then, because the universe is speaking to you through the people around you at this time. Okay, on the 22nd, we see that the sun shifts into the vibration of Leo, bringing light, heat, life, and vitality over here into your 2nd house space. So now we're coming back to into your 3rd house. So now we are bringing light, heat, life, and vitality back to your speaking, your writing, your teaching, your network that you're involved with every day, Gemini. This becomes a piece of the story. And Leo wants to amplify this, right? So it wants to amplify that teaching, that writing, that sharing, that voice in some way, shape, or form. Then we're going to see that Mercury comes direct on the 23rd here in Cancer. We've been telling this story and working through this Mercury retrograde vibration in Cancer since June. Now things are going to start to move forward, become a little bit more clearer. If there's been anything weird about or in the finances, you maybe start to get a little bit more clarity around it. If paperwork has been delayed, it starts to move forward a little bit more. So allow the clarity to return. And remember that Mercury leaves its post-retrograde shadow time on August 6th. So if everything hasn't been sorted out right here when we get to the 23rd, have no fear. The 25th and the 26th bring us to an absolute turning point. On the 25th, we'll see Neptune comes into a sextile with Pluto. And then on the 26th, we see Saturn go retrograde, but also the North Node is going to shift into the vibration of Aquarius now. I think of these the Saturn retrograde becomes increasingly important for us to pay attention to, because for you, this is happening in the 11th house space. There are some groupings, there are some old ideas, there are some audiences, there is something in the social space here that doesn't match anymore. That organization, that long-term aspiration, it maybe is time to be shed, or it's time to really look at and answer the Saturnian question. Are these really my people? And if they're my people, what are they helping me build in my legacy? Who do you trust? This can be a massively big question when Saturn gets involved. What is the future that you're building? Like, what is it? Because one of the things I know happened for a lot of people in this first 6 months of the year was pure exhaustion. So we stopped creating the next goal or the next vision, right? Not the kind that is like, I got to have a goal and I have to have a vision and I have to run towards it. No, but it is, what do I want here? Because I get to shift and shape a bit of my reality. So the question might be happening there. Now, as the North Node enters into Aquarius and comes into this 8th house space for you, over the next 18 months, you're going to be leaning in, learning, teaching, traveling, changing your belief system, sharing worldviews. Some of you might be returning to some kind of school or education or certificate program, something like that. Think about the realm of higher education. There's going to be publishing, I think, that comes out of this particular nodal transit for you as well. Either way, wherever you're moving towards in this North Node energy, it's going to ask you to think bigger and deliver it to the collective, because alone at the South Node, you're not going to be able to just get it done on your own. Now, the 29th brings us to the full moon happening in Aquarius and the sun coming into a conjunction with Jupiter. Now, as we're having this full moon culminate and end our month, it's going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. And while the sun is joining Jupiter over here in Leo, the full moon is lighting up this 9th house space for you. So it's lighting up where your higher learning, your publishing, your spirituality, your travel, your legal things, your life philosophy need to be ended, acknowledged, or adjusted, because you have to pivot to continue down this road and continue to grow. At the same time, when the sun is traveling here with Jupiter in your 3rd house of communication, learning, speaking, you're getting bigger. So this is this interesting axis between what you know and maybe what you're learning. Maybe you know something, you have a lot of wisdom, but you don't understand the technology in how to put it out there. Or maybe you do understand the technology and you're realizing you need to learn the next step of the technology, right? It's this space between wisdom and information, and you're walking this axis this month, Gemini. So I'm really excited to see what this means for you, how this month plays out, but I want you to be encouraged. I want you to stay Gemini, stay curious as this month is unfolding, stay flexible, because this month is really a bridge between an old world and becoming something else or unbecoming, and having become, now actually living in this next new world on your feet and taking your skills and your wisdom and your talent forward. Let me know how this month plays out for you. Let me know, as I was speaking and I was saying something, what was resonating in your story where you're going, yep, absolutely. And of course, make sure you double check all of this against your own natal chart. I love you, Geminis, and I will see you next month. My absolutely brilliant and beautiful Cancerian friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026. And Cancer, congratulations. It's still birthday time for you. So happy birthday to the Cancers that are on this side. But also, Cancer, this is not just birthday month. This is still so much astrology that's not our typical astrology that I think it really impacts, honestly, the entirety of your solar return season, everything that you're going to do from 26 to 27. So there's a larger story that's happening here as well. And it is one of the reasons here in July, you're going to see astrologers were really talking about it. And some are going to be like, we're all going to die, the asteroid's coming. And others are going to be like, live your best life, Like there's a big range here. But what I would say is I would just love you to be paying attention, because the outer planets, our professor planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they are all being activated repeatedly this month. So as that is happening, it is a signal to all of us that, again, this is not just typical astrology. This is generational, society, systems shifting, and we are needing to participate in it, not just watch it change kind of energy. This month for you, Cancer, all of this is going to ask you a very important question, and that is, are you building a life that reflects your true calling? Is this what you're supposed to be doing? Do you feel in alignment with it? And so truly for Cancers, I think that July is this conversation between purpose, long-term direction, because the outer world is changing, but you are changing in it as well. And this month, you're absolutely changing on your feet. So let's jump in and take a look at what a very, very busy month has to offer. Right at the beginning of the month, on the 4th and the 5th, we see Mars kicking off activation. So we know coming into July, things are in motion. They are in movement for sure. As Mars and Uranus come together on the 4th, in a conjunction here at 3 degrees of Gemini, and then later the same day, Mars hits this sextile with Neptune. And then just a day later, we see that Mars comes into a trine with Pluto. For you, Cancer, this is a motion, in motion, moving, activated kind of energy. When Mars and Uranus come together here in Gemini, it's lighting up your 12th house space. So the house of hidden things, it's quiet, there's more spiritual, you're doing things behind the scenes, intuition, rest, unconscious patterns. All of this lives in your 12th house space. Now, this is fascinating because in the world where everything is so loud and so active and so extroverted, this explosive kind of energy for you, Cancer, is actually happening in a quiet place in your chart. So it gives me the signature that something quieter, but every bit of as explosive is actually happening for you. So this is powerful insights, powerful spiritual relief, like an explosion of unexpected realizations, really vivid dreams. Sometimes we're doing things in the dark that will eventually come to the light, right? Like whatever it is, this awareness around things going on behind the scenes will absolutely come to the forefront of your mind. Now, Mars and Uranus can be explosive. That's why I continue to use that word. So I'm going to caution you and bring your attention to things that are explosive people, explosive situations, actual explosives. It's the 4th of July. The key to this energy here at the beginning of the month is really going to be intentional, conscious use of where these energies are working out and where they are playing for you, right? Now, at the same time, I think we have a helper with Mars being in this really nice conversation with Neptune over here, but then also a day later being in nice conversation with Pluto as well. It's activating both your 10th and your 8th house spaces. So it does give me this signature at the beginning of the month for you, Cancer, that your inner work that you're doing now, the things behind the scenes, the healing that's going on, it matters. The insight matters. What you're doing behind the scenes matters because it is going to come to the light and be this full reflection that you needed. Right? It's going to shape an entire direction of what you are doing in your life next. Now, on the 7th, we're going to see that Neptune goes retrograde. As Neptune goes retrograde, when Neptune's direct, it's like we can kind of dance in and out of the fantasy, and we need to be able to do that. We have to create something sometimes in the ether before we can bring it into the material reality. But as Neptune goes retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries, like reality gets real concrete. It gets real concrete, okay? Like where's the fantasy here, friends? It's real concrete. Now, where this is happening is in your 10th house space of career, reputation, visibility, leadership. We see you doing it in public. And why I think it's so significant to understand that it gets very concrete is that for many of you Cancers out there, you are going to be really questioning your professional direction based on standing in it. You're like, this is the reality of what it is. Is this the right path? Is this work still meaningful? Do I even still have a job? Right? There's something really significant about Neptune being there. And it really has this signature as well as being a part of a larger crowd, or you're being called to something like that. Sometimes Neptune can also have this revelation when it goes retrograde that you've been chasing something that is very much so a dream or an ideal that you would love to live up to, and you don't really want it. you actually do not really want it. Now, the transit is going to involve deeper honesty as you experience this Neptune being retrograde. On the 14th, we've got a new moon happening in Cancer in your sign. So happy birthday. Plant your seeds of intention here at 21 degrees of Cancer. This is your annual reset point. This is your new moon gifted energy. What do you want to create? What wants to be created through you? What chapter are you ready to begin here? The beautiful thing I think about having this in your first house space, Cancer, is that the change begins with you. The change begins with you. What you want to attract, the change begins with you. And as the world is changing, what you want and how you want to be presented in that vibration may be different. But the minute that you make the change, the world is going to respond as well. 15th through the 21st of the month, we need to just buckle in, not because it's bad, but because we're going to have these societal shifts really on go. On the 15th, we'll have Uranus in a sextile to Neptune. Then on the 18th, we'll have Uranus in a trine to Pluto. On the 20th, busy day, we'll have Jupiter in a trine to Neptune, and we'll have Jupiter opposing Pluto. And then on the 21st, Jupiter is going to sextile Uranus. These are some of the most important planetary transits and conversations that we're going to have in 2026 because collectively, the outer planets are our signal that collectively we are in a development here. Technology, education, communication, our social systems are changing. However, personally, for you, Cancer, all aspects may be telling a very different story in your chart because Uranus is moving through your 12th house. We've got Neptune moving through your 10th house. We've got Pluto moving through your 8th house. And we've got Jupiter moving through your 2nd house. So you have a little bit of a different story in the collective. As you are building your career, as you are building in the direction that you want to go, I think that there is this question in all of these aspects this week, or this reflection maybe, that Jupiter Neptune is going to remind you that it is a beautiful opportunity to reconnect. Neptune is retrograde. Go back to something that you felt like was important and really gave you purpose, and it was worth it. You're like, this is my ideal. This is worth it. And it's also going to ask you, Cancer, to trust your vision and to trust your intuition. It's fine to have it and let your spidey senses work every here and there, but trust it on, turn it on 24/7, turn it on. It's a powerful time to reconnect here. Now, we're also going to see that things around your money or your resources or other people's money and resources that you are sharing with them is coming to the surface. So perhaps there is some kind of financial situation and it's really coming into focus for you to be able to handle and work on it. Investment, stock market, taxes, debt, inheritance. But the point is what's going on with what you're valuing here, and you might need to make some adjustments. Now, on the 21st, when Jupiter is in this sextile to Uranus, this actually, I think, can bring a nice little financial breakthrough for you. Whatever this financial breakthrough means to you, is it that you are valuing something differently and actually the money begins to flow in? Are you finding a new creative, innovative solution, right? This is going to open up the doors to unexpected things, unexpected opportunities, unexpected ways of creating income. So I would tell you, particularly mid-month, listen, the whole dang month, but particularly mid-month, stay flexible and stay open because something is going to likely be presenting itself to you and it doesn't look like an opportunity at first, but if you stay flexible and you look at it from multiple different views, you're going to see that that is a really strong opportunity. Now, on the 22nd, the sun is moving to Leo. It's not birthday time anymore. You had a good run. So it is birthday season. So it's the celebration of your money house now. Now we're going to do the portion of the season where we talk about your money, and you're going to become more intentional and very alive in your money area. It's very easy to be in fear of the money area and just kind of let it get small and tight, and then the money is not coming or going, and lazy money doesn't work. If your money is couch potato money, it won't work. So how is your money moving? What's your relationship with money coming in and being alive, and with your relationship with opening your hands and letting money go out, right? It's very intentional is what we'll be watching during this Leo season. Now, we will see that Mercury is going to come direct here as well on the 23rd. So as Mercury comes direct, remember, it's been retrograde in your sign, and we've been working on this, looking at it, going through this since June. But now things can start to move forward. I think some confidence for you comes back online. I think projects or paperwork that you were trying to get done and they felt stuck in some way. There's a clarity that comes back to it, and you're feeling hopefully more confident and able to move forward. Now, this energy, I do believe, will continue to pick up speed as we get to August 6th and we get to the post-retrograde shadow time. But the direction and the identity become a little bit easier to see, particularly because these external societal shifts are going to create a different world. So as you stand in it, some things are going to be like, that doesn't work for me anymore. That is restrictive and not intentional, and I don't want that, or I'm not here for it, okay? When we get to the 25th through the 26th, we've got Neptune in a sextile with Pluto. And then on the 26th, I actually think that this is an important day. Saturn is going to go retrograde and the North Node is going to move into Aquarius. Now, of these, they're all big deals. But I think that the Saturn going retrograde is particularly important because it's retrograding for you, Cancer, in your 10th house, your career, reputation, leadership, public visibility in some way. And Saturn is asking you the serious questions. What are you building? What is the legacy here? What are you building? Is it meaningful, or what are you building? Is this aligned with your honest to goodness values? And are you willing to take responsibility for your future of what you're building and what you're demonstrating mastery for here? And it's not this heavy punishment, Saturn's the bad guy kind of energy. It's very much so refinement. Saturn wants you to get down to something that can last long term. It's not interested in the shortcuts of it. So I think that this will be quite impactful. Now remember, as Saturn is retrograding, you don't have to reevaluate your entire life and existence. Just maybe go back to January of this year and let's see what started happening as Saturn was making its travels towards the vibration of Aries. Let's have a reevaluation of that. Now, the North Node, I'm an evolutionary astrologer, so I get very excited when the nodes are doing anything. But as the nodes move into Aquarius and Leo, respectively, that North Node coming into your 8th house of intimacy and assets. Something around death, debt, taxes, investments, trust, vulnerability, sex, sexual healing, emotional depth, trust. These are up for a major shift because that North Node is pulling you towards them. It's like it's time for this, and you've got to be in collaboration over the next 18 months. This brings some kind of deeper transformation in this area towards trust, towards the vulnerability, towards the emotional honesty. For some Cancers, this is going to just honestly, I think, be a very profound financial season for you where you're really learning something about these finances, and it is in your destiny. It is the direction on the path that you are meant to be traveling, but you're not meant to go there alone. This is the North Node in Aquarius. If you're trying to Leo it and just do it by yourself and my pleasure and what I want, and it doesn't have this contribution and collaboration, I think you'll find this is the sticky growing point, but we're here to grow and practice. As we're going to close out this month, Cancer, on the 29th, we've got not only the full moon bringing our month to a close, but also the Sun and Jupiter coming together in conjunction in Leo. So it is big energy. I got that big energy. That's exactly what it feels like. Now, the full moon is going to be happening at 6 degrees of Aquarius. So it's going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment here in this 8th house space. Now, the North Node is over here as well. Granted, they're fairly far away from each other, but the vibration is here. So again, this place of intimacy, of trust, of healing, investments, vulnerability, it's all to the surface at this time. But at the same time, we've got that Sun-Jupiter conjunction happening opposing this. This is your money, your resources, your talents, your possessions. So there's this really powerful axis as we're closing the month and going to head towards August, and let this pick up speed, Cancer, in what do I value versus what am I worth? Oof. How are your finances connected to other people versus how you want to be making that money or keeping that money for yourself? How much are you keeping? How much are you giving away in terms of your power, right? This, for some of you, is going to be a nice integration, and I think it will bring something particularly financially or something where you're tethered to another resource to a completion, and that's really lovely. For others, we have to be mindful that this can be an illumination of fears or anxieties that you have around vulnerability, trust, and connection. This is not a superficial end of the month. It's going to ask for courage. It's going to ask for vulnerability. It's going to ask also that you trust yourself enough to let some of the insights arrive, but then take action vulnerably as they present themselves. All right, my beautiful Cancerian friends, please share with me in the comment section down below how the month, of course, plays out for you. But what did I say in this video that you're already going, yeah, okay, no, I see that. Me too. All right, I love you guys, and I'll see you next month. Absolutely brilliant and beautiful Leo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026. And Leo, happy birthday. Not at the beginning of the month, but mid-month, it is still birthday time. So we are creeping in on your solar return season. And if I was going to tell you, Leo, at any time in 2026 to actually be paying attention to the astrology, it is right now in July. And it's because we're not having just Cancer season. We're not just having Leo season. We are having a conversation in the global community where our outer planets, our professor planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, are all being activated. So this means that the world is under change as well, not just you. So before your season is beginning, the energies at the very beginning of the month, Leo, are getting your attention. Absolutely. We're coming into this month hard, fast, and strong with Mars kicking off activation right here on the 4th and the 5th of the month. Now, Mars is going to come into a conjunction with Uranus right here on the 4th, and this is at 3 degrees of Gemini. Then it's going to form this sextile to Neptune. Then it's going to form a trine to Pluto. And this is all happening within 48 hours. So for you, Leo, when we're looking at this Mars-Uranus coming together, this is lighting up your 11th house space. Friendships, communities, social networks, groupings, long-range goals, visions, designs that you've had for yourself, your aspirations, certainly things having to do in the tech or social spaces. When Mars and Uranus come together, they can come together and be explosive. So whatever is happening here, what I want you to remember is no matter what's coming through or decisions that you need to make around the beginning portion of the month, Leo, try to do them very consciously. Try to do them very, very, very consciously, because the suddenness of the things that can shift and the explosiveness of the way that things can shift, it can be as treacherous as it is exciting. So we just really, really want to be mindful of the way you use that energy. Now, for some of you, it's going to be that, a conversation happens or something happens in a grouping of people and it takes it out of your life just like that. But for others of you, it can actually be that a really nice collaboration of some variety is beginning for you here. The things that are the watchwords for the beginning of July are sudden, unexpected, and very fast moving. Tremendous breakthroughs are available here. Now, when we get to the 7th, we are going to see that Neptune steps into its retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries. This is a fellow fire energy. And when Neptune is traveling direct, it's like we can move in and out of reality, right? We can create something in the ether, see it over there in the vision, and then we pull it into the material world and we begin creating it. But for you, Leo, this is happening in your 9th house, and Neptune coming retrograde makes the reality very concrete. It almost feels like you can't reach for the fantasy or the ether. Is just very concrete. So now you're being really asked to evaluate what you believe is true. What are your beliefs? What's your worldview, Leo? What's going on with you in higher education? What's happening with publishing, marketing, traveling, broadcasting, spirituality, international things? All of this 9th house energy gets on the table for you. There are old questions, I think, Leo, and old assumptions that you've been working with. We all are. And now you're like, I've actually outgrown that. I don't believe that anymore. I don't want that anymore. And the transit isn't necessarily about finding answers. That's not necessarily what it's about, but more so making peace with the pieces of you here or the beliefs here that have dissolved, that you're like, yeah, that path doesn't work for me anymore. I don't need to let it take up any more space rent-free in my head thinking about it. Now, when we get to the 14th, we've got a new moon that is happening in Cancer, and this is going to light up your 12th house space of healing, things happening behind the scenes, your rest, your restoration. And so as this lunation is happening, it's always interesting at this time of the year because it kicks off right before birthday time, right? Right before it's supposed to become Leo season. So there is this question as you're coming to this portion of the year of what are you finishing from behind the scenes, but also what is unfinished? What needs to be finished? What needs healing? What deserves release? What deserves rest? This lunation for you, Leo, I think is a wonderful time to not only be planting your seeds of intention here, to remind yourself that when you're building something or when you're changing and going through your life, building in peace and pause and release to the activity that you are trying to unfold is really important as well. So prepare yourself. You're preparing yourself emotionally, spiritually, sometimes physically for getting ready to leap out of the cake when it is Leo season. Now, when we get to the week of the 15th through the 21st, I just really want you to be hydrated and paying attention because I don't like to grandize our astrology, but this is a very big week. There's something going on every day. On the 15th, we've got Uranus in a sextile to Neptune. Then on the 18th, we've got Uranus in a trine to Pluto. The 20th brings Jupiter in a trine to Neptune. Then we'll also see Jupiter opposing Pluto. Then we'll see Jupiter in a sextile to Neptune. And this is everything happening just back to back to back. Not to mention, it's still Mercury retrograde, right? There's so much going on in the sky. But this week, these aspects that are happening are some of the most significant that we are going to have as a globe, as a people and a species in 2026. Because collectively, this alignment, realignment, they are these suggestions to us that major developments in technology, in education, in communication, in our social systems. These are all changing, and then we will all need to fit into them. But personally, keeping it at the level of Leo, we want to think that Uranus is traveling through your 11th house. Neptune is moving here through your 9th house. Pluto is moving through your 7th house. So definitely changing some relationships. And Jupiter is now in your sign. So you've got a full story already unfolding for yourself, Leo. Your future is changing because you are changing. Right? Your relationships are changing because you're changing. Your beliefs are changing because you're changing. You are changing, and it's the most beautiful thing. Now, as Jupiter and Neptune come together in their conversation here on the 20th, I actually think this is really cool because it's an inspiring aspect. It's one of the aspects that I think for you this year reminds you that it is possible. Fill in the blank. Whatever it is possible. It reminds you of faith. It reminds you of possibility and to continue on that route. Now, as we are going to see here where Jupiter opposes this Plutonian energy, this is interesting to me because it does create this conversation, of course, between your first house and your 7th house. So this is the relationship aspect. So it's more of, I would call this for you a check-in point. You've got to look around. You've got to look and see how much growth has really taken place in you. You know, where were you maybe in 2020 and you're flashing forward now to where you're at in 2026 and you're like, okay, how have your relationships evolved? How have you evolved? Because this axis between yourself and others, this can be this push-pull dynamic. So you really want to see where you found that pendulum pull in the middle. Now on the 21st, when Jupiter is going to be in a sextile to Uranus, I love this because it won't have the same expression exactly for everyone, every Leo, but it will be unexpected opportunities. And how they arrive is through friends, through communities, through places where you are gathering with others, with people, through different ideas. So I would be paying attention around the 20th of the month, Leo, for where are the invitations that are showing up to you? Where are new introductions that are coming your way? Where is the newness, even if it's unexpected, that is presenting itself? Now, on the 22nd, we see the sun move into the vibration of Leo, and happy, happy birthday. Here you are, you're at your solar reset. Plant your seeds of intention here, even with the sun, as to what you want to grow and how you want to shine for this next year. It is your personal new year. Now, on the 23rd, we're going to see that Mercury comes direct in the vibration of Cancer. We've been working with the Mercury retrograde since June. So now as it comes direct, there's going to be some clarity that begins to unfold. Now, the clarity will continue to pick up speed and continue to unfold as we get to August 6th. But we want to take note that Mercury is direct now. So if paperwork's been held up, something's felt confusing, you felt like you tried to go in a direction and the universe just slapped your hand and said, no, thank you. This is starting to move in that direction. Now, the 25th and the 26th, these are some turning point energies. And I think that the Saturn going retrograde is one of the most impactful. But what we will see is on the 25th, Neptune forms a sextile with Pluto. Then on the 26th, that Saturn's going to go retrograde. And then the North Node is going to move into Aquarius, and that South Node is moving into Leo. So Leo, there's some parts of you that are going to not be as necessary. You don't have to do everything on your own. You're going to be moving a little bit more towards the we, not so much the me. But this Saturn retrograde, because it's happening here in your 9th house space, I think this is something to really breathe in, Leo, because Saturn is asking you to reevaluate your beliefs, your educational path, your spiritual practices. What's your long-range vision for yourself that you're going to put some legwork in? But what you build is going to serve you long-term. Saturn is like, what perspective has you gained? What wisdom have you gained? What are you building? Where are you ready to live now? There's a lot of these questions that are not about shortchanging anything. They're long-term stability. Some of you may be entering into some kind of educational program with that as well. But then when that North Node does enter into Aquarius, this is a major shift, because now it's not just pulling at the level of external transits coming into your life. This is an inside job where you're naturally being asked to go towards the direction of collaboration, towards learning through connection and community, meeting more people, meeting important people, maybe even redefining for yourself at this point in your life, like what do healthy relationship dynamics look like for me now? It's a lot of what can become possible, but the node here is bringing you your secret friends and guides and people who are going to help you along the journey. Now, as we get to the end of the month, the final days are pretty powerful because we're going to see that we've got a full moon happening at 6 degrees of Aquarius. And then we'll also see that the Sun and Jupiter are going to come into conjunction with each other. Now, first of all, as we have the full moon, we're going to be asked to end something, to acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We need to pivot from something in your relationships, right? This full moon is like, okay, this dynamic is what it is. It has been this way, and now we need to pivot. I've grown in my relationship dynamics, but now I need to pivot and be able to step out a little bit further, have the courage to let what I do and who I am actually benefit the collective or a contribution in some way, shape, or form. So you'll really be feeling this call to this. And the Sun and Jupiter coming together, this is absolutely amazing. The Sun being your ruling planet, coming together with Jupiter, who's in your sign. It's like this ability to get bigger than life, or to finally shine and step out of the shadows and really put yourself out there is there. But you will be likely called as well, with Pluto also traveling in this Aquarian vibration, to really confront some aspects of yourself, Leo, or aspects of your identity that you're holding on to that are not serving you. You have grown. Now let the extra loose skin fall off, okay? All right, my beautiful Leos, I think that this is going to be a really interesting month. I'm curious to see what this full moon, particularly in the 7th house, we've got Pluto over here, we've got the South Node over here. I'm curious to see where this energy is bringing these different kind of really significant conscious chosen one-on-one relationships into your life, where you're looking at your balance between independence and partnership, and how you're seeing yourself grow and how much you've changed. Let me know what resonates with you in the comment section down below. I love you. Have a great birthday season, and I'll see you in August. My absolutely brilliant and beautiful Virgo friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026. And Virgo, wow, the power word for you this month is self-care, which as I'm always going, have you done your Venus reset program? That is a word I absolutely love for you. But really, Virgo, something that I want to point out at the very beginning of this video is that we are in a month here in July, which is not typical astrology. We're seeing that our outer planets are coming into conversation. So all of the professors are activated repeatedly this month, which tells us that this is not just a month where we're going to look at the Virgo astrology. We can't. We have to also consider how these societal and generational shifts are happening at the same time because they speak to one another. How does that impact decisions that you're even going to be able to make? So when you're listening through this month and you hear me talking about these outer planets and I say self-care to you, what I really am saying to you is it's very important that you are conscious this month of as much as you can be, but also that you take care of yourself because more importantly, that is the theme that the month really has going for you personally is shoring up. How do you take care of yourself? So let's jump in. That sounds a little vague, posty. Let's jump in and see what the month has to offer. Now, right at the beginning of the month, on the 4th and the 5th, these are power days and they are really explosively fueled days as we come into the month. So we just need to be mindful of it. On the 4th, we see Mars and Uranus coming together at 3 degrees of Gemini. Now, Mars and Uranus, as they come together, they can be explosive. It can be explosive. We caution you not to be just any kind of way when it comes to explosive things, but also it is an energy where people can become more dynamically explosive as well. So the key here is going to be conscious action. But on the same day, we see that Mars is reaching out in a sextile to Neptune. When we get to the 5th, just a day later, we've had this pack of energy over here. Then Mars reaches out for a trine to Pluto. This is a power-packed set of energy that we want to be paying attention. Now, for you, professionally, or in some kind of role where you are moving to leadership, where you're seen in leadership in some way, shape, or form, this is what's lighting up for you in this fellow Mercurial ruled energy of Gemini. So I want you to be paying attention to, are there new opportunities that are arising for you? Or Virgo, are you putting down old opportunities because they are not actually feeding your fire? Whatever happens these first few days of the month, Virgo, it's fast, it's quick, it can be exciting, but it's a very initiatory kind of energy. But I do want you to be mindful of not making those impulsive decisions, okay? But I do think that this aspect that I see here with Mars, that's how we're going to say it now, with Mars, in this sextile to Neptune, this is nice because this hits up your 8th house energy, intimacy, assets, healing. Pluto's here in the 6th, your daily health care routine. So I'm telling you, this could just be the fact that the way that you're working, what you're working on, or what's getting your energy or attention, Virgo, particularly in the beginning of the month, is absolutely changing. Now, when we get to the 7th, we see that Neptune is stepping into its retrograde at 4 degrees and 25 minutes of Aries. When Neptune is direct, we can kind of go in and out of the fantasy, right? Like we need to be able to step into the fantasy and create something so we can pull it into the material world and then make it into some kind of material structure. But when Neptune is retrograde, we can't. It's like reality gets so concrete, right? It is the Coke, no Henny. No Henny. Okay, there's no chaser. That's the way I would absolutely describe this energy. Now, for you, as this is putting emphasis into this 8th house, Virgo, I would be looking back over shared resources, assets, intimacy, taxes, inheritance, emotional healing, vulnerability, sex, all of these things. Neptune's in retrograde going to remove any illusions that have been here. If you've been like, well, maybe it's going to work out, or maybe this, or maybe that, it's going to remove those illusions. Now, I think in a way it's very good because it will bring clarity to some kind of financial or joint situation that you are in. For others, it really will be around the emotional patterning that continues to show up around trust and vulnerability. Either way, the transit is a great place to check in with your honesty and being very current in this particular area of your chart, not just financially, but emotionally as well. Now, when we get to the 14th, we've got a new moon happening at 21 degrees of Cancer. This will light up your 11th house space. So this is the friends, the communities, the audiences, the organizations, the social media, but more importantly, the long-range goals and aspirations that you have for yourself and who you are surrounding yourself with to achieve those things. It's not the question of who are you becoming, it's who's alongside you to support the becoming that you're becoming, right? Now, as we have this new moon, it's an opportunity to plant your seeds of intention. So plant your seeds of intention. Start that new professional network. If you need a mentor, you need a business coach, you need a whatever, go ahead and do it. You want to grow your audience. You want to look for collaboration. You need friends. You want to actually sit down and have some future-oriented goals and kind of get current there as well. This new moon is an opportunity to pay attention to all of that. Now, the 15th through the 21st of the month, I really do want to tell you, please buckle ye old emotional seatbelts. And not because I think, the asteroid's coming, this is the end for us or anything like that, because I don't really overhype our astrology, but it is a lot of energy packed into 1 week. Now, on the 15th, we'll have Uranus come into a sextile with Neptune. Then on the 18th, we'll have Uranus come into a trine with Pluto. On the 20th, we've got Jupiter trining Neptune and opposing Pluto. And on the 21st, we've got Jupiter in a sextile to Uranus. So, collectively, these are tutors and outer professor planets in conversation with each other. There is a lot happening collectively for us in this particular energy. Most of it is soft, but significant developments in education, technology, things happening in global news sources that affect every country, not just one, things in our social systems. These are going to be all really up for grabs. And it's not that it's bad, but the systems are shifting. And I think we're very much so aware of it. One of the things I do think will happen as well is many people will see this energy and think, oh, okay, the stock market's going up. This is really good. And it's almost an illusion because when we get to these eclipses that happen in August, it's like the bottom falls out a little bit. I think I'll talk about that in the opening. So don't worry too much about that, Virgo. But what you can be doing to pay attention is, first of all, realize that as Jupiter and Neptune come into conversation with each other, this is quite lovely, actually, because it encourages healing. It encourages your spiritual growth. It encourages you to remember you can trust that more is possible. You can trust that if you feel like you're off course or you feel like you're on course, that you have reason to ground in and trust yourself, So trust your intuition. The powerful insights that come to you are meant for you. Okay. Now, as we're looking and we get to the 21st and Jupiter is having this conversation with Uranus, this is where I do want you to pay attention. Watch for these unexpected opportunities. Watch for the unexpected invitations, an unexpected thing. And the opportunity can arise for you. It's coming, rising to the surface. And Virgo, it doesn't look like an opportunity. It does not look like an opportunity. So stay flexible. Be willing to say yes. Use your discernment, right? Obviously, if somebody's like, would you like to go on a date with me and you can ride in the back of my trunk? Don't say yes to that. But other things, be flexible, stay yes, trust your discernment. When we get to the 22nd, we bring in Leo season. So we're going to bring light, heat, life, and vitality into your 12th house space. And as we're traveling over this next 4 weeks, this is your chance for self-care. This is your chance for taking a look at everything that you've been through, went through, learned over this last year. And what do you need to let go of? What's ready to come to rest? Where do you need to be restored and rejuvenated in the 12th house? Maybe, Virgo, you're working on something behind the scenes. Whatever it is, as Leo season is passing through, remember that you become less externally focused in the season on purpose. It's because we want to clean out the closets, clean out the spirit from the last year, make peace and integrate with whatever you need to so that as your birthday time and your solar year comes around, that reflection, that healing, that closure is done and you can step forward. Now, when we get to the 23rd, we see Mercury, your ruling planet, coming direct here in Cancer. So we've been working with this Mercury retrograde since June. Now we're going to work with it in total all the way until August 6th. But as we get to the 23rd, Mercury's direct here. So some conversations, some paperwork, some projects, they can move forward and actually begin to pick up a little speed. The 25th and the 26th bring us into some interesting energy. On the 25th, we've got Neptune in a sextile to Pluto. And then on the 26th, we see that Saturn is going to step into its retrograde. And the North Node is going to move into Aquarius while the South Node moves into Leo. Now, I really think that the strength of these couple days, the real impact is going to be that Saturn going retrograde, okay? Because that's the one that we're going to likely be able to touch, taste, and feel very quickly over these next couple months. Because Saturn here in your 8th house is asking you some pretty important questions. Saturn is going, where are you at in your financial obligations? Are you able to meet your means? It's going to be asking you if you're able to do that. Saturn's going to say, are you able to meet your financial obligations? How are your investments? What's going on with shared resources? How is it going in terms of sex or emotional boundaries or trust or vulnerability? Is anything going on with taxes, debt, inheritance, any of these things? And as Saturn is doing this, it's not about punishment, but it is the heaviness that comes with developing the maturity and the more healthy habits. Now, with these things, as Saturn is retrograding, if they are in place, you're going to be living your best life. You're going to be living your best life because Saturn wants maturity. And when you deliver, Saturn delivers as well. So what have you set up to be successful in this area of your life, or what is changing and you're moving on to try to find a better system for it? Now, as we're going to close out this month, the final days of July, I think are lovely. Not only do we have a full moon that is happening in Aquarius, so lighting up your 6th house space of your daily routine, your health, your wellness, your self-care. Hopefully you've been doing some of this spiritual restoration and rest as well. So the full moon here is going to ask you to end, acknowledge, or adjust something that is going on in your daily routine that is it's done. You've already done it. You've completed it. It's not as healthy as it needs to be, or you've just gotten it as good as it's going to be, so you can let it go. On the same day, we're going to see, at the same time, we're going to see that the Sun and Jupiter are going to come into a conjunction here in Leo, and this pumps a fair amount of energy into your 12th house space. So as the Sun and Jupiter are coming together, I like the energy because your motivation to work on, pull out your old wisdom, have your expansion from this 12th house space gets, amplified. So truly, spiritually, in terms of what you're integrating, where you need to just go, I need to put this down and allow myself to restore. I need a restoration. These could all be themes that are coming to your attention. I would tell you as well at the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, really pay attention, Virgo, to your body. What's your body saying to you here? Because your body might be telling you something that is pretty important. It's trying to communicate something to you. So make sure you're being an active, really good listener as we're closing out this month. All right, my beautiful Virgos, I love you a ton. It's a busy July, so I'll be keeping track and keeping up with you the whole way through. But you stay grounded, stay amazing. Let me know how the month is going in the comment section down below. Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Libra friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026. And Libra, July is, I think, one of the most important months that we have in 2026 because life is speeding up considerably, but it's not just our private lives. This is a really important month because throughout the month, all of our professor planets, so these are our outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they are all being activated repeatedly all month long. So when this happens, we are not just looking at personal changes that are happening. We are looking at full societal shifts that are happening. Belief systems will change, massive evolution in technology. And I'm not just talking about AI, but there is this sense that there is a much larger transformation happening and it's global. So when these planets are speaking to each other, like they are now, we're literally watching history move. And this month, Libra, while this is your personal forecast to break it down, it's really important to remember that you're not standing outside of these events as they're happening. You're an absolutely active participant this month. You're living them. And this month for you personally is really asking the question of what future are you building? What future are you building? And who do you have to be to build that future? Because it's in an entirely different world than you or I or anybody has ever lived. So for you, July, this relationship between career, partnerships, belief, community, all of this really very much so has your attention. So let's jump in, Libra, and see what the month has to offer. But keep in mind that the societal shifts that are happening around you are also ones that you're going to be participating in bringing those changes in, okay? Now, on the 4th and the 5th, as we come into the month, right out of the gate, the month is activated. On the 4th, we've got Mars coming into a conjunction with Uranus, and this is happening at 3 degrees of Gemini. So you're going to want to find that 3 degrees of Gemini on your personal chart. Now, later that same day, Mars is going to make a sextile to Neptune. So that's really nice. That's actually quite helpful. I think it'll turn down the heat just a little bit. But the very next day on the 5th, we see Mars coming into a trine with Pluto. So for you, Libra, this is going to activate your 9th house space: publishing, marketing, broadcasting, international business, higher thinking, higher learning, higher teaching, really belief systems, immigration, religion. All of these things live in your 9th house space, but it is about expanding. Now, for some of you, this will be something really, I think, quite changing or quite fiery in some kind of personal belief system that you have, while others of you, it'll be finally about doing some kind of publishing. You know, this is really going to run the gamut with this. But either way, I think what happens in the beginning of the month is you suddenly find yourself, you're exploring these new ideas, you're exploring these new beliefs, and you're looking and you're launching and you're wanting to expand in some way. But Mars and Uranus, when they get together, they are electric. And they can also be explosive. So something that you're wanting to be aware of and use the energy quite consciously, Libra, is take that energy and point it in a very productive direction of what you want to expand. But remember, no one is exempt from this Mars-Uranus, which can be explosive. People can be more reactive. Explosives can be explosive, right? So you want to be more careful around things that have to do with firecrackers or celebrating potentially the 4th of July, these kinds of things, because whatever happens, it will happen quickly with Mars-Uranus there. And as I keep saying, we're going to see that Mars also forms a really nice sextile. It's supportive here with Neptune on the same day. So it's just a little bit later in the day. And it's great because Neptune's sitting here in Aries in your 7th house. So this is partnerships, conscious chosen one-on-one relationships. And then on the 5th, when we see Mars make that trine to Pluto, who's over in Aquarius, this will light up your 5th house space. So joy, pleasure, play, creativity, some kind of expression. You know, you're needing to change the way you're putting yourself out there, or you're expressing yourself in some way. So these combinations of energies give me a signature that in your relationships, in your expression places, there's some kind of catalyst for growth or for movement that is really propelling you forward. And it can be, again, in some kind of reactive or explosive kind of way. Now, it doesn't have to be bad, because perhaps someone else's perspective just really helps you change your own. You know, stay open to it. But remember, whatever is happening at these first entry days into July, they're happening quite quickly. Now, when we get to the 7th, we're going to see Neptune, who's just been in conversation with Mars, is going to step into its retrograde here on the 7th. And this is going to be at 4 degrees of Aries. So again, locate that 4 degrees of Aries on your chart. Now, for you, Libra, because this is in your partnership sector, right? It's in Aries. It's across the street, conscious chosen one-on-one relationships, commitments that you're making, whether they be clients, business, romance, mentors in some way. When Neptune is direct, we can kind of move forward and back, and we can imagine a world and then kind of bring it into the material and create it. Or we can have a little bit more delusion around what we're seeing. But when Neptune goes retrograde, it is like reality gets very concrete, right? It gets very, very, very concrete. So what you're looking at is what it is. So I think for some of you Libras, the clarity around some things that have been going on and some commitments or relationships that you have taken on is going to be eye-opening. It's going to be eye-opening. Now, for others, you may actually be seeing partnership or sharing your energy in a more dynamic way, which kind of opens you up to it, and you haven't been as open to it for some time. Now, still, I think other people are going to realize that you're like, somebody has an expectation of me, and not only can I not meet it, but I really don't want to. So it's not that this is necessarily a difficult transit as Neptune is retrograding, but it's just an honest one because it's bringing you into the concrete reality. So the questions I would be thinking for you is, are you seeing whatever commitment or relationship you are in clearly? And are you allowing yourself to be seen clearly? We want to get any kind of deception, delusion off the table as best as humans can. When we get to the 12th, we've got the Sun in a conjunction with Mercury here. Now, the entire month is absolutely busy. It's just absolutely busy. So as we see the Sun and Mercury come into this conjunction here at 20 degrees of Cancer, this energy is a wonderful day for clarity. It's a wonderful day for clarity, professional decisions, career planning, business strategy, visibility strategy. Any of this is a favorable day for you. But then I think it gets further supported when we get to the 14th and we've got the new moon happening in Cancer at 21 degrees. Now, the new moon's going to be a chance for you to plant your seeds of intention, Libra, in your career, acknowledgement, visibility, reputation space. We see you in this space in public. So plant your seeds of intention. What do you want here? What is the life direction you are aligning yourself with because you want to go in that direction, right? Now, any of those business plans that you were thinking about putting together, they might be beginning. And a business plan doesn't have to be that you're going to start, a Fortune 500 company. A business plan can be, I'm getting married, I'm getting divorced, I'm having a child. All of these are just as much wrapped up in your visibility as anything having to do with your job or your work. But I do like for some of you Libras, I think that some plans or goals that you've had begin to crystallize under this new moon and in the months to be carried out forward. Now, when we get to the week of the 15th going through the 21st, now the whole month is busy, but this particular week is very busy. First of all, we're going to see on the 15th, Uranus is in a sextile to Neptune. Then the 18th brings Uranus in a trine to Pluto. Then the 20th is going to bring Jupiter in a trine to Neptune and in an opposition to Pluto. And then when we get to the 21st, we are going to see that Jupiter is in a sextile to Uranus. So it is a busy week. We're going to be walking through this 1 week at a time because we'll be here for 10 hours trying to get it all into this forecast. But what we want to know and keep our eyes on for this week of the 15th going through the 21st is that this is extraordinary astrology. These are the outer planets in conversations we don't see them have very often. So as Uranus and Neptune come in this sextile, your house of beliefs and your house of relationships and how you're influenced, there is a door right there for you to walk through. And maybe you believed in something or you wanted something before and the world was not ready for it just yet. The literal world was not formed around those ideas yet. And then on the 18th, when Uranus comes into that trine with Pluto, it's a powerfully creative energy. Create. You might find yourself in a position where you're really, because the world's opened up, Libra, you are expressing yourself in a very different way. You're literally talking about things that you never thought that you would be talking about. The 20th, I think, is one of our most important days of the month because Jupiter is very busy. It's a great energy here on the 20th for collaboration, but it is also a day where you're going to have to really be in connection with your own Venus because asking for help, receiving support, some kind of opportunity door that opens, and you've got to have the courage to see it and walk through it. But that opposition later in the day with Jupiter and Pluto, it does give me the signature to ask you, Libra, to really check in with yourself. How first of all, in this opposition, based on who you are and a natural wisdom or something you have to offer out, that Jupiterian energy, in opposition to a world that's becoming incredibly different, how has your creativity evolved? Right? How have your patterns of romance and joy and pleasure and play and rest and being able to allow yourself to be supported and received, how have they evolved? Because it will very much so impact the confidence that I think you move through this week and probably the rest of the year with, right? There's no sticker for suffering by yourself, okay? On the 21st, we've got Jupiter in a sextile to Uranus, and I do like this. This is a sextile that I think, again, expect the unexpected, an exciting opportunity, an exciting or unexpected invitation or something like that connected to community could definitely be coming your way. Now, when we get to the 22nd, we're going to move the sun into the vibration of Leo, bringing Leo season to the table and lighting up your 11th house space. This is about friends, communities, social spaces, organizations, the aspirations that you have for yourself, and thus the friends and organizations you are connected with who are going to help you get to that aspiration. And it's one of the most social times that you get all year long, right? Because this is Leo energy. So your tribe, who's your tribe? Who's your community? What are your dreams? These are the questions I'm going to have for you. Now, on the 23rd, Mercury comes direct in Cancer. And while this is not the end of the Mercury retrograde cycle, that doesn't actually end until August 6th. I think that particularly around things in your professional life or something in this 10th house that you've been working on, there's some clarity now that can come to the table. That paperwork starts moving forward again. That conversation restarts that kind of fell off over here. You know, maybe there was some momentum that was building and it felt like it got halted. This is when this energy will start to move forward again. Now, when we get to the 25th and the 26th, busy times. On the 25th here, we've got Neptune in a sextile to Pluto, and this will be at 4 degrees of Aries. So linking together, again, that 7th and 5th house conversation. So relationships, creativity, romance, children, things for, of, and with and around your children will be in high expression here. And then Saturn turns retrograde at 14 degrees of Aries, and the North Node enters into the vibration of Aquarius. Circle the 26th on your calendar as well. This Saturn retrograde in particular has my attention for us. Because as Saturn is going to take this retrograde in Aries through your 7th house now, it's asking you to reevaluate really what's been going on since the beginning of the year in your relationships, Libra. Are your commitments healthy, and are you showing up to ensure that you're in the healthiest, best commitments that you can be in? What commitments are you wanting to make? Is this commitment, this thing, is it sustainable? Now, at the same time, as that North Node is moving into Aquarius and that South Node is moving into Leo, over the next 18 months, this is huge for not only your karmic and your soul growth, but this is a journey of joy, creativity, pleasure, play. It's focus on partnerships, focus on being in community instead of trying to do it all yourself, right? Towards creating play, towards playing, towards creation in general. I think all of these will be coming to your table. I'm really going to be interested to see what this is doing to change your expression, some way that you are expressing things, Libra. This seems to be very much so on the table for you. All right, as we're going to close out the month, we get to the 27th through the 29th, and I just want to tell you, very busy. On the 27th, we're going to see the sun in an opposition with Pluto, trine Neptune, sextile Uranus. We will cover all of this in the weekly, but what you want to know for sure is that this is about regaining momentum towards your future. This is the direction that deserves your attention for you to move towards the future that you want. Now, as we get to the 29th, we have this full moon that's happening in Aquarius, and it's going to be at 6 degrees of Aquarius. And then we've also got the sun in a conjunction to Jupiter. The full moon is going to ask us, Libra, to end something, acknowledge something, or to make our adjustments. Something has ended in a cycle of what you're working with around your children, joy, pleasure, play, the self-expression. Now, at the same time, as the sun is joining Jupiter and they're joining together here in Leo in this 11th house space, this creates this axis of how you're unique or how something in the Aquarian side is your own being, your own doing, right? But then it is moving you towards how does that add to the community? How are you sharing that? What are you meant to share with your community? What is your gift? What is your tool? What is your skill that you have to offer out? So you'll be looking at that. For some Libras, I think that romance actually can be a highlight for you at this time in this very busy month, where it's chaotic in your life and you think, wow, this romance came in and it actually stabilized things, as opposed to the ones that come in and just create a whole bunch of chaos. Right? For others, maybe you have a creative project and it's going to reach some kind of milestone and it's time to be shared in some way. But I would just ask you, as we're closing out July and heading into August, if you are allowing yourself to be you, because that is how you're going to, no matter what the world is doing around us, how you're going to be unapologetically you and see what you actually also have to add to the collective as well. This is a lot of belief expanding for you. I mean, it is a journey in July into open-mindedness that I don't think that any of us have ever had to have. So Libra, let me know what this resonates for you or brings up for you as I'm saying these things. Let me know in the comment section down below. I love you a ton, and I'll see you in August. Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Scorpio friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026. And Scorpio, July is big and important astrology. It's extraordinary astrology, as a matter of fact, because we've got our outer planets all being triggered and in conversation all month long. And this is our indicator that not only is this a personal horoscope, but that we absolutely cannot separate it this month from what is going on in a much larger changing circle in our collective consciousness, in what's going on in society, how quickly things will speed up with technology and big changes that are likely to be felt by the globe at the same time. Now, for you personally, as I'm looking at this month, I see, first of all, we're going to get, a couple days into the month, and there's this real call for community for you, Scorpio, being in a place that really uplifts you and speaks to your soul, finding your tribe. But the word I keep coming to you for this month is legacy. Like, what are you building? What are you achieving? What are you leaving? It's not simply about earning and doing and navigating in the public realms, but there's something here about, Scorpio, what will you be known for, right? Like the future version of yourself. You're actively in building it right now, and you're building it in an entirely new world. Now, as we're going to kick off this month, one of your ruling planets, Mars, is going to start off by activation right away as we get to the 4th and the 5th of this month. Now, on the 4th, we see Mars and Uranus coming together at 3 degrees of Gemini. Scorpio, this is explosive. This is explosive energy that typically when Mars and Uranus come together, they can just be a bit volatile, right? So it's the 4th of July. This is all of this kind of energy. So I am going to caution you, please be mindful of explosives and things that make people get triggered off more quickly, like they're more explosive. But one of the things we can look at is that this is happening in your 8th house. So things around intimacy and assets. We're talking joint resources. We're talking emotional health, intimacy, trust, wellness, places that you have grown or changed psychologically. I want you paying attention to what sex means in your life, your reproductive system, all of these things. Whatever it is, as Mars and Uranus come together, it's often surprising, and it's quick. It's quick. It happens quickly. And often it's an external surprise of some variety as well. Now, on the same day, though, Mars is going to sit in a sextile to Neptune. So this brings a little bit of something else in, a little different texture to where this explosive energy is at. One of the things that I keep thinking in my mind as I was looking at this Mars-Neptune, especially since Neptune is sitting here in your 6th house space, is something in your daily routine, like something in you're able to reach for something different in your daily routine. And then as Mars takes this trine to Pluto, both of your ruling planets are in conversation, but Pluto is in your 4th house. So it's like the changes that are happening might be quick, they might be sudden, but they are in a foundational way, maybe even in your own home, bringing more stability. This is about more stability. It's almost like okay, let's just get on with it so we can move forward kind of energy. So please let me know what that's even bringing up for you as I'm saying this, regardless of when you're listening to it, but what is it bringing up for you? Maybe there's like a financial arrangement or agreement or something that's like coming to an end, or you're finally making it. Let me know in the comment section down below. When we get to the 7th, I see Neptune going to step into its retrograde here at 4 degrees of Aries. Now, Neptune again is over here in Aries in the 6th house space for you. So your daily routine, your habits, your wellness, your responsibilities, maybe you're taking care of someone. When Neptune's direct, we can kind of go in and out of consciousness, move in between the worlds. And I think humans need that. We need a little bit of like play and a little bit of like daydream in addition to the reality. So when Neptune goes retrograde, reality becomes reality. Like it is concrete. There's no skipping out for a quick daydream, right? It removes the illusions as well as to what's going on here. So you might start to recognize, Scorpio, that you're like, I have not actually been taking very good care of myself. Or there's something about in how I'm taking care of myself. I need to relook at that. I'm overworking, overgiving, overproviding, operating on autopilot. Something like this could very much so be coming to your attention. And it's not loud. Neptune retrograde is not a loud and proud kind of transit. It's usually quite quiet. You know, your body is giving you some indicator that something is going on. And I would be asking, first of all, what are the physical, practical realities of what's going on? You know, in Aries, somehow your fire has been put out in some way, but also what's trying to get my attention even spiritually with what I'm doing. So truly, Scorpio, if there's been some level of ignoring exhaustion, or you've been needing to detox from something, or you're just realizing something in your daily energy is draining you, this would be the transit over the next handful of months where I think you're really looking at, does the way I have my day-to-day life set up really support the legacy, the future, what I want to leave as I'm moving through this lifetime. Now, when we get to the 9th, we're going to see that Venus shifts into the vibration of Virgo, and this lights up your 11th house space. And really the signature for me here for you, Scorpio, is finding your tribe and saying what you need, getting the help you need, receiving support, receiving connection, letting it come through community. This is really important that you be uplifted, that you be supported, whether it's by audiences, organizations, you have a long range plan for something, and now you are going to let this community support you and celebrate you. This is the word that keeps coming, is celebrate you. Some people need to celebrate you as well, and you need to let them celebrate you. So Scorpio, you know, let's say that you are a business owner or something like this. Okay, maybe it's time to start that group. Maybe it's time to create that community. Maybe you meet someone who the organization and the connection later down the road actually opens a different kind of door for you. Collaboration would be high under this energy with Venus moving to Virgo as well. Now, when we get to the 12th, we're going to see, first of all, that the sun is coming into a conjunction with Mercury here. And I really like this. It's at 20 degrees of Cancer. It's great whenever the sun and Mercury come together, there's some level of clarity, or the plan comes together, or something clicks. It just like comes into view, right? But then you get support in stabilizing that and helping it to unfold on the 14th as we have the new moon happening in Cancer at 21 degrees. So this will be the chance for you during this month to plant your seeds of intention in that 9th house, publishing, marketing, broadcasting. Mercury has been retrograde since June. So maybe there's something even having to do with international relations, business, legal things, and they've been held up a little bit, but you're like, yes, I want to start this or push this forward. The new moon's going to invite you to plant those seeds of intention. And the other thing I hope that you do here is plan a little bit bigger. It's a new world out there. It's a new world out there, and the future will require a journey into open-mindedness that you've maybe never needed to use before. And that future, to get to it with that level of open-mindedness, that's where your expansion is at. Now, Scorpio, the week of July 15th through the 21st, it is what I would call extraordinary astrology, but it is also a really busy week. So we'll be covering everything in the weekly breakdowns as well, because all of July is a mouthful. But for some context, on the 15th, we've got Uranus in a sextile to Neptune. On the 18th, we've got Uranus in a trine to Pluto. On the 20th, we've got Jupiter in a trine to Neptune and in an opposition to Pluto. And when we get to the 21st, we've got Jupiter in a sextile to Uranus. Now, some of these I really like because they're going to pop open unexpected doors, invitations, opportunities. But this Jupiter Pluto opposition, this is a connection between your Jupiter Neptune, this trine is going to be a connection between your 10th house and your 6th house. And so this to me, I like, Because if you have some kind of inspiration or you get moved in a particular direction, it's like you believe that the possibility of whatever you're working on here is really possible. The legacy is possible, right? But then when Jupiter is opposing Pluto on the same day, it's going to create this conversation between your career life and your home life, between that ambition and old ambition and new emotional security. And I do see here, Scorpio, I don't know if this is a person coming into your home or you don't like that they left your home. You know, there's some opposition to this. They are standing opposed and you're looking for the integration. Neither sides of what is happening is wrong. It's just a checkpoint. This is a checkpoint. There's more possible, but where are you needing to reel in and check in just a little bit? On the 22nd, we've got the sun moving into Leo, so we're welcome in Leo season. And then on the 23rd, we'll see Mercury coming direct here in Cancer. Now, as the sun brings in Leo season fellow fixed energy, it's your annual like professional spotlight. So you get to run with that. It brings light, heat, life, and vitality. We've also got Jupiter traveling through Leo as well. So your 10th house, this public reputation is really getting a lot of attention and what you're known for, whether that's high publicity or it's just what you're known for in your community is getting a lot of attention. So prepare. I hope you're in alignment with your Venus and you're ready for all the visibility and then to receive the applause, the success, the appreciation, the recognition that comes with it as well. On the 23rd, as Mercury comes direct here, anything that has been in the fog lifts and we can start to move things forward. You know, as Mercury is coming direct here and the clarity is starting to return, I want to remind you that while the momentum is picking up, Mercury doesn't fully leave its post-retrograde shadow time until August 6th. So if some things are picking up speed, but it feels like the full momentum or the full clarity is not there yet, don't panic, but it's on the way. But I do think we'll start to see some energy definitely moving. The 25th and the 26th, another very busy day, and it's like a new chapter. Neptune's going to be in a sextile to Pluto. So this conversation at 4 degrees of Aries, 4 degrees of Aquarius, respectively, linking your 6th house and your 4th house. They're having a conversation. So there is action here. You are like able to be in some kind of inspired but focused action. And it's healing meets stability is what this looks like to me. So remember, the healthier you become, the more you're focused on a daily routine, a fitness plan, a detox that really gets you in alignment with yourself, the stronger your foundations are going to become as well. Now, the 26th, Saturn is going to step into its retrograde at 14 degrees of Aries, and we will also see the transiting North Node move into the vibration of Aquarius. I am particularly caught up with this Saturn coming retrograde. This is again in your 6th house, and Saturn wants maturity. It wants you to demonstrate maturity and mastery. So there's something in the Saturnian area, whether it's around your health, your boundaries, your responsibilities you're taking on, work-life balance, time management, how you're being a service to someone. Saturn is asking you to go back over and review that, which makes me think that at the beginning of this year, Scorpio, something happened for you. There was probably a pretty big shift in your home, family, real estate, property area, and that impacted a daily routine situation for you. What was this? Let me know in the comment section down below. But then when that North Node does enter that 4th house, it's like, whoa, hold on, this is huge. For the next 18 months, some of you may be moving. Again, somebody's coming to your house, leaving your house, you're purchasing a property, you're something here. But I love the energy of being able to heal your 4th house with this North Node being in Aquarius, but you're not going to be doing it by yourself, right? Some of you are going to have some family dynamics over this next 18 months that I think get their appropriate healing. The North Node comes and it brings where the destiny of something is to go. Or you create this home environment that you want or have always wanted, and that shift happens. And it's not the I need to constantly achieve. It's more of a this is for all of us kind of mentality. I'm interested to see what that brings up for you. Let me know in the comment section down below. Between the 27th and the 29th, as we're even attempting to get out of July, it is also very busy. Sun-Pluto opposition, Sun trine Neptune, Sun sextile Uranus. Now, it is the sun repeating a lot of the story that Jupiter told us at the beginning of the month: career, health, home, transformation. These are all back on the table, but I do feel like at the end of the month, more of it comes together, Scorpio, and you have this experience where, first of all, you're going, what does a success and legacy mean to me? What does it mean? But you're clearer. There's a clarity and there's a focused amount of action. As well, the 29th is going to bring this full moon to us at 6 degrees of Aquarius, lighting up your fourth house space: home, family, real estate, property, your roots, things that make you feel secure. At the same time, we'll see that Sun and Jupiter are coming into a conjunction here in Leo in the 10th house. So this is an opposition. It creates an opposition in your axes of home and career, my private life, my public life, what fulfills me on the inside versus what can be seen in my outer achievements. So for some of you, it's going to be interesting in a time where the job situation seems quite questionable. I think some of you are actually going to get like promoted in some way. And that promotion is like this. Okay. I want the best for you, but I'm putting the promotions like this because just because you're giving more responsibility and you are promoted doesn't mean it's necessarily like the kind of promotion you want, but some kind of opportunity to step into more and take on more seems like it will be available. But this is really going to challenge something happening probably at home in a family dynamic. Or you have this career moment or this what I need to do where the resources are at moment, but it does require you to move or something like this, So I'll be curious again, Scorpio, what does this mean for you? And as you get to this set of oppositions in the end of the month, what is the legacy that you're choosing to build and leave? And what does that life actually look like? What do those actions look like for you, Scorpio? Because that's going to be something you're going to be asked all month long. And I encourage you, if you don't want it, try to not build it into your story. All right, Scorpio, July is a big deal. There's going to be a lot going on, and we're going to take it one day at a time together. I love you, and I look forward to seeing you in August, okay? Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Sagittarius friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026. And Sagittarius, listen, July is one of the most important months that we have in 2026. The astrology is extraordinary. I mean, we are watching history happen, and not only is your ruling planet Jupiter deeply involved in all of this month's astrology, and then it will be echoed back to us by the sun at the end of the month. There's conversation with all of the professor planets, the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which tells us that the signature of this month is not just personal, that the globe, our society, it's changing in real time. And you're not sitting back watching it, Sagittarius. You are actively a part of it. And Sagittarius, I think that it's a big month for you personally because it's kind of asking what beliefs are guiding your life right now and will guide your life going forward, particularly in this changing world. Now, because Jupiter's already entered into Leo and is, of course, lighting up your ninth house space, fellow fire energy, I love that. The space of education, teaching, expansion, international things, like just this broadening of you, maybe even in your belief system. Some of you may be publishing, right? These areas are already lighting up. So July, we're having a little bit of a check-in point on where you're at in that journey. So I'm going to be interested to see, what are you working on? What's expanding for you? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as you are going to hear me say over and over through this forecast, and you probably did in the beginning as well, because those professor planets are getting activated, I want you to really pay attention to what's happening in the global world around you, because some of your keys, your tickets, your nuggets are going to be happening there. Where are things expanding very quickly in technology, in things in community, in things in education, and there is a space for you in it as well. All right, Sagittarius, let's walk through this month. Now, also, I want to remind you that we are going to be together every single week of July. July has a lot going on every day, every week. So I'm going to give you your forecast to give you something to focus on, but we will be together week by week, and I encourage you to be joining me, okay? Right at the beginning of the month on the 4th, we've got Mars in activation. First, Mars is going to come into a conjunction on the 4th with Uranus, and at the same time, a little bit later in the day, it will sextile Neptune. On the 5th, Mars is going to come into a trine with Pluto. So literally, as we're coming into this month, it is beginning with fireworks. Like it's beginning with fireworks, like figuratively. You've got the 4th of July, but also astrologically as well. But when I think about the combination of how many times Mars and Uranus come together and they are volatile or they are explosive, this is something to honestly be paying attention to. Now, they're going to be coming together at 3 degrees of Gemini, so lighting up your 7th house space. Conscious, chosen, one-on-one relationships. Mars and Uranus together are unpredictable. They are explosive. They're highly active and reactive. So expect it. Expect things to happen quickly for you around relationship. A conversation that you're having and decisions are made quickly, or a conversation that you're having in a relationship ends up turning a direction completely at the end of that conversation. Or, you find out there's some kind of partnership and it really needs a reevaluation, but whatever it is, it's going to happen quite quickly. Now, Mars is sextile to Neptune later. Lights up your 5th house space, joy, pleasure, play, romance, things having to do with your children. So this is kind of a soft place where it is helping you, I think, Sagittarius, reconnect to what inspires you. You'll need to remember to stay open-minded this month. What inspires you about the world? It's changing so much that you've got to keep your eye on what continues to inspire you while everything is changing. Now, the trine to Pluto, just the day later on the 5th, is going to be Pluto lighting up your 3rd house space, communication, mindset, learning, things having to do with siblings, maybe studying or having something in a network. Some of you could be writing books for sure. As this is happening, there is a deeper truth that is going on. We are digging it from the root, bringing it up to the surface. So as we're here in the beginning of the month, there is a situation, I think, in this first couple days that is really getting your attention quickly and trying to teach you something. Now, as we continue on, we're going to see on the 7th that Neptune is going to go into its retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries. As Neptune is direct, we can kind of move in and out of the daydream and the fantasy because we create something in the ether or we vision it in our minds and then we pull it into the material reality, right? But as Neptune is retrograde, reality gets real concrete and there's not a lot of the daydreaminess. And sometimes this can be really challenging. Now with Neptune over here in Aries, this is lighting up your 5th house space. Joy, pleasure, play, self-expression. And this is the kind of joy that is actual joy, Sagittarius. It's not productive joy. It's not performative joy. It's not the kind of joy that is like, yeah, that's kind of okay. This lights up my spirit. And what's the reality? Where is some of the illusion getting taken out of this for you where you've really been confusing some kind of fantasy with that inspiration, with that joy, and where maybe something in your deep creativity, maybe you've been felt in the world like it won't fit into the world, but the world is changing. It will fit again, right? Now, for some of you as well, this Neptune retrograde in the 5th is going to have a pull on things going on with children or things going on in your romantic space. So keep me posted on what's happening, what's evolving over there. On the 9th, we're going to see that Venus enters into the vibration of Virgo, lighting up your 10th house space. Now we've moved to the top of your chart with this fellow mutable energy. Reputation, leadership, your visibility, titles and roles that we call you in public. Now Venus is coming in and it's pulling it. This is great for professional development. This is great for visibility development. People notice you. The world, you're very much so, they're attracted to you. They're attracted to your efforts. So if you were charging something or wanting to share a skill or getting attention on yourself in some way, shape, or form, Venus is absolutely working in your favor here. Or maybe it's about resources. This is in Virgo. So maybe you're nursing or you're caring together for some kind of resource. Keep me posted also on how that is going to be playing out for you. When we get to the 12th, we've got the Sun in a conjunction with Mercury here in Cancer. Now, Mercury at this point is still retrograde. It's retrograde for us all month. So there are some ideas, actions, things that are caught in the pipeline. They're stuck a little bit. They feel like they can't move forward. But as the Sun and Mercury come together here, there's this moment in your 8th house where this Cancerian energy is living, where there's a clarity. There is a clarity where you go, okay, but it's about something, Sagittarius, from your past, right? Like if there was a financial issue or something that you were afraid about or something you were going over, or a joint resource, or maybe there's something really emotional, an emotional truth, something with death, debt, taxes, romance. This transit is shining the light on it and it's clicking. Something clicks. It's like you couldn't get it before and now it clicks. Now, this is further supported in getting more information and starting something delicious in this area of your life on the 14th, where we've got the new moon happening at 21 degrees of Cancer. This will be where you're planting your seeds of intention. It is transformative. This is your transformative moon, I think, for the month. So in your shared resources, death, debt, taxes, healing, something new is beginning here and you're planting those seeds. So if it's you want to have a deeper commitment to yourself, to trust, to healing, to astrology lives in the 8th house as well. Are you beginning therapy? Are you getting settled in because you're sharing a joint resource with someone in some way? This would be your fresh start. Now, the 15th through the 21st of the month is just so busy, back to back to back busy. On the 15th, we've got Uranus in a sextile to Neptune. The 18th, we've got Uranus in a trine to Pluto here. 20th, we've got Jupiter in a trine to Neptune, as well as we're seeing through the 21st as well, the opposition to Pluto, the sextile to Uranus. It is a busy week. So all in all, in that week, what I want you to do to, first of all, be paying attention, because new opportunity, surprise things coming up. And surprise doesn't mean positive or negative, but it is something that is unexpected, some kind of unexpected information or opportunity presents itself here, but it is about your future. Your future is trying to emerge. It's trying to come through these new innovations or these new sets of information or the connections that you're making. Something is trying to come from that. So think about your connections and your relationships that are also around you. Something I'm thinking a lot about is this opposition between Jupiter and Pluto, because this is a pretty important checkpoint for you, right? Like all of the Jupiterian interactions are going to be important for you. But Jupiter and Pluto opposing each other, this is like this message to me here, which is actually asking you to check in on where you've grown. Where have you grown? Where have you evolved? Jupiter's here in Leo in your 9th house space, publishing, marketing, broadcasting, higher education, all of these things, right? But it's taking on Pluto in your 3rd house, something about learning, something about your evolution. Maybe you're learning a new skill in a new world, but you're needing to check in with yourself. You know, maybe you've had this philosophy, Sagittarius, for a lot of your life or for a very long time, and it's not actually holding true anymore. You know, prime example. My daughter's a Sagittarius and she just graduated from college, very excited about that. And the way that she wanted and thought she would always need to work in the world based on ideas, training, raising, are not the ways that she is finding she's going to be able to work in the world. And this will really require some integration of learning new skills and also expanding them out into the world. So I think it's a really meaningful transit for you because it is going to call you to the next journey, to the next destination, but it is asking you to question an old way of thinking or doing something. On the 22nd, the sun enters into the vibration of Leo, and Mercury is going to come direct in Cancer on the 23rd. So as the sun moves into Leo, it brings light, heat, life, and vitality. And of course, it is adding more energy into this 9th house space. Travel, learning, teaching, you know, maybe you were abroad and you're coming back across the ocean. Maybe something in your spirituality or your meaning or your purpose of life has really changed. But as Mercury comes direct, again, anything that was kind of caught in the clog or there was a delay, or there was a lack of clarity about information or your home or where you're going to live or how you're going to move forward, this begins to release as we get to the 23rd. Keep in mind that the Mercury retrograde does not fully leave its cycle until August 6th, okay? On the 25th, 26th, we've got Neptune in a sextile to Pluto, and then we'll see that Saturn is retrograding in Aries here, and the North Node is going to move into Aquarius. Now, this Saturn retrograde has my attention probably more than any of the other transits happening on this day, because the Saturn retrograde is asking you to go back and revisit what actually deserves your attention and your efforts, right? What is a way that is actually sustainable? You're demonstrating maturity. You've moved away from something around the childishness while embracing your childlikeness, right? There's a joy, there's a pleasure, there's a play, some kind of using your voice, some kind of expression that needs to be made. That Neptune-Pluto makes me think that, of course, there's a larger societal story unfolding here, but it also is going to make you, again, look at what deserves my continued energy and mastery as I'm moving this forward. As we see that North Node move into Aquarius over the next 18 months, it's going to be brilliant to see how this new reality, this new tribe of people, this new grouping of people really unfolds for you, Sagittarius, because you're learning something different here, right? This is your learning, speaking, knowing, sharing, teaching axes between your third and your ninth house, which will see the full moon light up at 6 degrees of Aquarius when we get to the end of the month. So there's this place where you are ending, acknowledging, and adjusting your ability to receive help, be in community, have a tribe, not need to do it all by yourself. Learning something new. For many of you, I just have this vision, Sagittarius. For many of you, this will be literally you're learning a different language, or you're learning a different belief or perspective, but you're doing it on your feet. Like you are in the game learning this. And it really comes down to, yes, your perspective matters, but your experience is also going to start to matter a little bit more. Many conversations with people, organizations, groupings that actually change the way that you see and you view the world may be something that is really difficult to say out loud. That truth is going to make its way to the surface to being spoken, right? So there's a lot that is available in this change as we're coming to the end of the month. Sagittarius, July is a big month. There's plenty for you to do, to grow into. The world is changing around you, and I can't wait to see how you're navigating yourself through that. I will be with you every single week of this month, and we will go a little bit more in depth with each of these aspects to see how you can actually work with them without being overwhelmed by them. All right, my beautiful Sagittarius friends, I love you, and I will see you in August. Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Capricorn friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026, where Capricorn, I'm going to tell you, if like 1 month deserves your attention in 2026, besides your birthday time, it is definitely July. This month is such a profound check-in because we can't separate the individual story from the collective story this month. Our outer planets, our professor planets, Uranus, Pluto, Neptune, they are all being activated all month long, which tells us not only are they being activated, but they're being activated repeatedly, right? So this is telling us that there is something changing in our collective, and it's not some like, can you feel the vibration stuff? Like things are changing in our collective, in our societies. Technology will speed up. We will likely hear news and information about things that will begin to take different structures. So these become big shifts in what's happening. So we can't just say, here's what's happening in the Capricorn horoscope this month. We have to also consider the part that this month's astrology will play in how you participate in these collective shifts that are happening for you as well, or happening in the collective and with you as well. So we're going to really be looking a lot this month at how your foundations have changed, how the foundations of the world, the communities that you live in, how those have shifted, what challenges have come up for you over the last few years. And we're going to look at them through a little bit of a different lens, Capricorn, and see how you're handling it in a day-to-day way. So let's jump in and talk about what this month has to offer, because it is busy. Now, also, we are going to be covering this month, as always, in the weeklies, but we really need to gather every week in the weeklies because there's so much going on every day, every week in July. So make sure you're joining me for the weeklies as well. All right, as we're coming into the month on the 4th, we've got Mars in activation mode. So Mars is ready to make some moves, push some things forward. So first, Mars is coming into a conjunction with Uranus in Gemini at 3 degrees of Gemini. So make sure you locate that on your chart. Later the same day, Mars is going to make a sextile to Neptune. And then on the 5th, Mars is going to make a trine to Pluto. Now, when Mars and Uranus come together, they can be volatile. They just can. They can be explosive. And I think it's an interesting energy on the 4th of July, where we're typically dealing with some kind of explosives or explosive devices, the fireworks, things like that. But we want to keep in mind that no one's exempt from this. So people being a bit more reactive or explosive, things being more explosive. These are words that are very real for this couple days as we're traveling at the beginning of the month. But the other thing that I want you to pay a little bit more attention to in your 6th house, Capricorn, your daily routines, your health, your wellness, the way you speak to yourself, your mental health and wellness, your responsibilities, and the way that you take them on in a daily fashion is how quickly something changes. Mars and Uranus to come together, and this will move things, particularly in Gemini, quickly, right? So your staff changes, your company lays you off, there's technology problems, you have some kind of unexpected disruption, you have some kind of unexpected disruption that actually ends up being a blessing, a work project suddenly changes directions, challenges or changes to your health. I want you to not be on guard and afraid, but I want you to expect an opportunity to need to respond to something that happens quite quickly. Now, because Mars also rules inflammation, this is something I've been thinking about, and Uranus rules surprises, this again brings me back to this idea that something could be inflamed quite quickly. The sextile that Mars is reaching out to with Neptune here, this is in your 4th house space. Home, family, real estate, property, your roots, emotional foundations. As these two are in conversation, I think it helps you to reconnect in some way, in a day-to-day way with your home and your foundation. Maybe even Neptune here getting ready to go to its retrograde is helping you see where it's time to reconnect with what brings you some kind of inner peace in your own foundations. Now, just a day later, as Mars reaches out for that trine to Pluto, Pluto is going to be over here in Aquarius in your 2nd house space. Money, finances, resources, your self-worth, the way that you allow resources to flow towards you. So this, in my mind, as I'm seeing it in this couple days, something's happening quite quickly. You may need to relinquish something so that you can have peace, or you need to grab something, maybe create a boundary with something. And then you need to make some kind of value-based decision, Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto's in Aquarius here. This could definitely be changes in global money, the way that global resources are working. So it's something to pay attention to. It's a first week is coming in with a bang, that's for sure. Now, when we get to the 7th, we're going to see that Neptune's going to step into its retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries. So the first thing I'm going to encourage you to do is to go back. All right, go back to the beginning of this year. What was floating and coming in for you in your 4th house, Capricorn, home, family, real estate, property? Because when Neptune is direct, we can flow kind of into the fantasy and we create something here, we get a vision, and then we flow out of it and we create it in the material world. But when Neptune goes retrograde, it is concrete. It feels very hard to get into the dream or the delusion. So whatever has been happening around your home, your family, real estate, property, your roots, ideas and concepts that have to do with safety. This becomes where you are reviewing your relationship with that. Do you feel safe? Do you feel rooted? Do you have something going on in a home or a family situation that maybe you were really idealizing it at one time, and now you're realizing that that's not the dream anymore? For some Capricorns too, I do think that this brings you to a place where I just keep seeing this more as like you're sitting with family history or family history books, or maybe something has come up in your health and you're going back through family history. Some of you may be in the space where you're in menopause and you're literally going back to the history of women going through this event. So I'll be interested to know. Let me know in the comment section down below, Capricorn, what's coming up for you. On the 9th, we see Venus moving into the vibration of Virgo, fellow earth energy. This lights up your 9th house space, publishing, marketing, broadcasting, higher education, your belief system, anything that is going to expand you out. International travel, legal things can sit in here as well. And I actually love this transit for you because it sits in trine, right? This is a nice earth-earth connection for you. And after all of the intensity that I think we experience in this first week, Venus is coming as this reminder to that the love of widening your perspective, and by widening your perspective, you're able to call in more of what you would really like in this area. So maybe you're going to get really focused, right? A very Virgo thing to do, get very focused on calling in a solution to an immediate problem that has presented itself. Maybe it's a financial situation. Maybe it's you're finding solutions. You're taking a step back, getting more perspective to take a look at a bigger, something that's part of your bigger picture. For others, I think some practical things will be coming up: travel, spiritual development, things having to do with writing, teaching, higher education, and you're calling those particular things in. So for those of you who are thinking in July that you want to enroll in a class, like come and hang out with me at Nadia Shaw's school, that would be fun. Or begin studying something else that lets you to widen your own horizons, this would be a good transit to do that. When we get to the 14th, we've got a new moon happening at 21 degrees of Cancer, so it's sitting just opposite of you. Now, the new moon is your opportunity to plant your seeds of intention around your relationships and things happening around any place you're making a commitment. But remember, they're conscious, chosen one-on-one relationships. So you know who you're in partnership with. You know who your clients are. You know who's on the other side that you are partnering with, because you have a goal that you want to get to and you need to both go together. So new beginnings are available for you here. Maybe you start a new relationship. Maybe it's the start or the deepening of a relationship that's already in your life. I can see some signing of contracts for sure. For those of you who are working and looking for new clients, this might be a great moon to plant those seeds of intention as well. Now, when we get to the week of the 15th, very, very, very busy. Like every day is giving us something to work with. The whole month is giving us something to work with. So make sure, again, you're joining me in the weekly. But when we get to the 15th, we've got Uranus coming in a sextile to Neptune. Right after, we'll have Uranus in a trine to Pluto. Then we'll see Jupiter in a trine to Neptune. Then we'll see Jupiter in an opposition to Pluto. Then we'll see Jupiter in a sextile to Uranus. Okay, that is a lot. So what we want to know and take from that for the week of the 15th is that, first of all, I do want to take an opportunity to point out that this is really extraordinary astrology. It is extraordinary. We have got our outer planets in conversation with one another, but the conversation that they're having is quite harmonious in most cases. Uranus is here in your 6th house, that Gemini energy, but it's in this really nice conversation with Neptune, who's in your 4th house. Okay, so then it's in this nice conversation with this Pluto over here in your 2nd house. So again, we're seeing whatever got triggered off by a bit of this Mars is now coming to the table, and they present as collective aspects, but they're about deepening how you personally apply your skill to them, Capricorn. They're collective aspects, but in your daily life, in your home life, in your financial life, how are you evolving and applying new skills, new, more mature skills to these particular areas, right? So let's say that you have traditionally had a particular type of working arrangement. That working arrangement might not have been serving you anymore, and now you're looking and applying your skill to have more financial freedom, Pluto in Aquarius. Or maybe you are making a move that allows you to change your life priorities in some way, shape, or form. Let me know what that brings up for you. When we are going to get down here, though, to this Jupiter-Pluto opposition, this is not bad. And again, in the midst of the other transits that are going on, I actually think that the Jupiter-Pluto is just a check-in point. It's just a really strong, powerful check-in point. But you want to remember that Jupiter and Pluto here, they're just asking you to look back at your life. They're kind of saying, where have you transformed? Where have you transformed? Where have your values changed? Where have the values of the world changed? And so you've been allowed to change your values as well. Where have your relationship with others and with money changed? Where's your understanding of power and power dynamics and how those sit? How has that changed? So this will be more of your check-in point as we get to this point of the month. Now, the 22nd is going to bring us into Leo season with the sun moving into Leo, and the 23rd is going to bring Mercury out of retrograde in Cancer. So keep in mind, we are doing the month with Mercury in retrograde, so some things might feel like they kind of get a little bit forward, but then they move back, or that they have been full stop. They're like been on hold. Now, as Mercury comes direct, some clarity can start to come. Some momentum can start to be picked back up. And I think that there's a sense at this point, even though Mercury is not all the way through its post-retrograde shadow time until August 6th, I do think it helps get some conversations going. And that brings a sense of, okay, we are moving forward again. The 25th and the 26th, busy. Neptune and Pluto are in a sextile. We'll see Saturn retrograde, and we'll see the North Node enter into the vibration of Aquarius. Now, of these, I have to tell you that the Saturn and the North Node really have my attention, because as Saturn is going to come to this retrograde, it's again in your fourth house, Capricorn, home, family, real estate, property. So you are now in review, and it's the kind of review that is Saturnian. Saturn doesn't want shallow commitment. It needs your maturity and it needs your mastery. So it's asking you to review the commitments at your home. What kind of lease? What kind of mortgage? What do you have even in terms of your physical home property? What's going on with your family? And most importantly, what is happening in your well-being, and are you taking responsibility for tending to that? You know, it's a really good Saturnian review. And as the North Node enters into this vibration of Aquarius, this is a brand new chapter to your second house, to your finances, to your resources, to your values. And over the next 18 months, your growth is going to involve building greater independence and confidence through how you use your abilities to add to the collective. It's not this idea of I just need to make a paycheck. That's, I don't think, going to work anymore. It has to be, how do I add my skills, even if I feel vulnerable or I've never understood that I could work this way before, to actually add to the collective and thus make a way for myself. As we are going to close out the month on the 29th, we have got the full moon happening at 6 degrees of Aquarius, and we'll also see that the sun comes into conjunction with Jupiter. Now, as we're closing out the month, it kind of feels nice to be ending it with some full moon energy. But the full moon asks us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. And it's going to be all around the second house, around money, worth, success, resources. And at the same time as the sun and Jupiter are coming together, they're on the opposite side as well. So it's a very full moon kind of day, or a very opposition kind of day. Sun and Jupiter are coming together in a fortunate conjunction in your 8th house of shared resources. So the energy at the end of the month creates not only this light up of your financial and value axes, but it is showing you exactly where to make the adjustments so they meet in the middle. For example, maybe you find out your budget needs an adjustment, or there's something in your finances that you've got to see the truth of, and then it becomes really obvious. Right? The opposition and all that full moon light makes it really obvious. Or there's an investment decision, whether it's an investment in a person, a relationship, finances, and it's kind of getting ready to reach its end. Its climax is on the way, okay? So whatever it is in this value axis, one of the things I would tell you is to just keep in mind to avoid, if you can, doing anything impulsively, impulsive spending, impulsive worrying, impulsive or making financial decisions based out of a temporary emotion. I don't think that would be particularly smart at this time. All right, my absolutely beautiful Capricorns, we're all going to buckle in, not because it's a scary month, but because it's a busy month. There is stuff happening all month long, so I'll be with you all along the way. Let me know how the month is going for you in the comment section down below. Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Aquarius friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026. And Aquarius, if there was a month this year I was going to tell you to pay attention and really see what's going on. It is in July, and not because this is the best month ever or the worst month ever. It's because it's a very busy month. Almost every single day and definitely every single week, we've got multiple major transits happening. So one of the things that makes this really important is that even as I'm delivering your individual horoscope for you, I can't do it now, for sure I can't do it now, without considering the major global trends that are going to be going on, the way that society is going to be making a very sped up shift in direction, how much more quickly technology is going to rise to the surface. This is a speeding up of what's going on. And that's what happens every single time the outer planets get activated. So we've got Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto being activated this month, not just once, they get repeat activation all month long. Now, we've also got your modern ruler, Uranus, in Gemini. So that's one of the planets that's getting triggered off. And then we've got Pluto in your sign being triggered and activated and pushed off. And then we've got Saturn, your other ruler, getting activated. So there's a lot going on this month in the world, but for you as well, Aquarius. I've said throughout the year, getting here to July of 2026, that we are witnessing full-scale change. The entire landscape and vibration is changing. And this month in July, instead of just witnessing the changes that are happening and feeling the vibration, Aquarius, you're very much so in the game. So I want you to keep that in mind. It's a very active month, but you are in the game, okay? All right, Aquarius, in we go to see what's happening. So right here at the beginning of the month, we're kicking off nice and strong. On the 4th, we've got Mars coming into a conjunction with one of your ruling planets, Uranus, and this is going to be at 3 degrees of Gemini. So make sure you grab your chart so you can see exactly where that 3 degrees of Gemini is at. Now, this is going to activate your 5th house: joy, pleasure, play, romance, self-expression, things having to do with children, taking some kind of risk, okay? Now, whenever Mars and Uranus get together, they can be volatile. They can be explosive. They absolutely can. They can also just be fast moving, and particularly because they're meeting in air. So whatever is happening with these energies at that 3 degrees of Gemini, it is happening quickly, or there is going to be a surprise or some kind of sudden development or something unexpected that comes of it, you know? And it can be wonderful, or things that we perceive to feel as wonderful. You have a romantic situation and you steps it up 5 notches. You know, you met on Wednesday and y'all are getting married. I'm not even joking. I am not even joking. It can just accelerate quickly. Or maybe you have a younger child and they now require an unexpected amount of attention, something like this, okay? Now, the good news, I think, is that Mars is also on the same day in a lovely conversation with Neptune. So as they're in this conversation, and Neptune being in your 3rd house, this lends a bit of support to the news that you are getting. So it makes a bit of the energy that is happening on the 4th and going into the 5th a little bit softer. But then right behind that sextile to Neptune, we're going to see that Mars comes into a trine with Pluto, who is in your sign, in your 1st house of identity, of self-development, personal power, leadership. So whatever is happening, whatever this Martian energy is bringing in, this is helping you make meaning out of it. That Pluto in your sign is helping you make meaning out of it. Like, you will be transformed into something else in these early days in July, but it's meaningful to you. So these first couple days of July, I just want you to know the energy is moving quickly. It's powerful energy for manifesting or putting yourself quite consciously in the direction that you want to go. What it's also you want to be mindful of is that it is so fast moving that many, many people in situations are not going to be consciously working with it. It's going to be more reactive than anything. So you be as compassionate, but be as ready to shuck and jive as you need to as well. Now, when we get to the 7th, we're going to see that Neptune is going to step into its retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries. When Neptune is direct, we can kind of move between the worlds, right? We can move into the space of fantasy, or we see a vision of something and then we can create it there and then pull it into the material world. My favorite Neptunian example is that before a chair was a chair, it was just a vision. And now we got chairs all over the place, right? Okay, so when Neptune is direct, we can move in between the worlds. But as Neptune is going retrograde, reality gets real concrete. Like it feels like it's harder to daydream. It's harder to get to that other daydreamy realm, but reality gets crystal clear for you. So over these next coming months with Neptune retrograde here, lighting up your third house space, Aquarius, really the way that you communicate, who you communicate with, something you're writing, something that you're speaking about, something that you've been learning about, the patterns are going to present themselves because you can't get away from them anymore. And I would be thinking too, the third house, ninth house axis has a lot to do with our beliefs. So I'm wondering, where have you been believing a story? You've been telling yourself a story and it doesn't fit anymore. It does not fit the vision of concrete reality anymore. Or where have you been afraid, Aquarius, to actually trust yourself, trust that gut, trust that intuition, right? Aquarius, the vibration that you're made of tends to pull and move towards the future. But Neptune retrograde over these coming months is going to ask you to slow down, get into the present, and really look at how you're processing and disseminating information and what that information is. Now, on the 9th, we're going to see that Venus moves into the vibration of Virgo, and Venus is not a hustle hard planet. Venus is an attracting planet, lighting up your 8th house of intimacy, assets, death, debt, taxes, vulnerability, sex, emotional transformation. Venus, when she comes into the 8th house, this is a little bit quieter. Okay, Venus is pulling in and softening situations that have felt complicated or have felt like they've really been pulling on you, whether this be a relationship and you're able to be more vulnerable in it, be in that more intimate space. If it's a financial partnership and things are becoming a bit more cooperative, you're able to go back and forth. Difficult conversations, the kinds that truly make you afraid under the surface, become a little bit easier to have. When Venus blows in, there's a softening that comes to this space. Now, the other thing I really like about Venus in the 8th house is it can attract to you the relationships and finances and collaborations that you need to actually have your needs met. So it's a really brilliant and beautiful transit. On the 14th, we've got a new moon happening in Cancer at 21 degrees, and this is your opportunity to plant your seeds of intention into your daily routines, your 6th house. So this would be a great time where you are planting seeds to begin new systems, a new exercise program, having more intuition or improving your intuition around your nutrition, creating a work schedule that actually feels nourishing and supporting, hiring support, and then receiving the support, right? It's really a transit that is about better habits. But the changes here, remember, they're cardinal. You're needing to begin something again. But what you begin has potential to have long-lasting results. Now, Mercury is still retrograde at this time, so you may be seeing something. You're looking back on it, right? You've seen it. You've gone back over it. So you know what the improvements need to be. So plant your seeds of intention to put those new improvements on your old situation in place, particularly as we're rolling towards the end of the month. Now, from the 15th of the month, really moving on, very, very, very busy. I hope you will stick around and walk through these in the weekly horoscopes with me as well, because there is a ton to talk about. On the 15th, we've got Uranus in a sextile to Neptune, and this is one of the most important, I think, and kind of exciting. It's kind of extraordinary collective transits that we're going to have all year long. For you, Uranus is sitting in the 5th house, Neptune is sitting in the 3rd house. So as these two are coming together, there are these creative ideas that may be sparking off. Is this that novel? Is that fiction story, that children's book, some new Uranian breakthrough way of expressing yourself? Collectively, this is when I think we are going to start hearing different kind of news about technology, and there's a bit of speed happening with it. Some different way in how we're going to communicate, education, some kind of creative system or innovation that's coming around that's getting us all to turn our heads and think differently about something. But personally for you, it's really going to encourage you very much so to trust some new ideas that are arriving. On the 18th, we've got Uranus now in a trine to Pluto. As these two harmonize together, the professors are in a supportive conversation when they're in a trine, right? This is helping creativity flow forward into a new world. It is helping you, it is helping all of us change. The change is not necessarily gradual where Uranus is involved, but the change is coming and it's really at a fundamental level. Things are going to be different, but now your vibration more matches the world that it's going into. On the 19th, we've got Mars in a sextile to Saturn. The 20th through the 21st is also going to be incredibly busy as well. Jupiter in a trine to Neptune, Jupiter opposing Pluto. We've got Jupiter just on the 21st here in a sextile to Uranus. So I'm telling you, mid-month on, these are some of the most important days in astrology. Now, as Jupiter gets involved, Jupiter is in Leo, your opposing sign right now. And as it comes into a trine with Neptune, it opens our eyes again to the next set of possibilities. Anything's possible. The next thing, something different is possible. Jupiter sextile Uranus is going to create the breakthrough or the breakdown that is needed to allow that next new thing to come through. But the Jupiter opposition to Pluto, who's in your sign, this is where I think you're being handed a checkpoint, right? You got to go, am I growing? Is this plan, is this path going to help me grow, or am I sitting in some kind of resistance and it's not going to help me meet my goal, that integration of an opposition? I'm curious for you, Aquarius, how much have your relationships changed over the last year? How has your understanding of yourself changed over this last year? These would be massive questions that this Jupiter opposition is bringing to your attention. And when you realize how different you are than the person you were even 5 years ago, some of these changes of where we're going in the future and how you're going to go there and who's going to go with you will start to make a lot of sense. On the 22nd, we've got the sun entering into the vibration of Leo. And on the 23rd, we have got Mercury coming direct in Cancer. As the sun enters the vibration of Leo, this is your relationship time of the year, your 7th house. Conscious, chosen one-on-one relationships light right up. They become the major focus. Now, this is romantic relationships, business relationships, clients, collaborations, things going on with somebody you have an open court case battle with, contracts, any place you know who's the other party you are connecting with. Now, as Mercury comes direct here in the vibration of Cancer, this is going to help so much information that was like stuck or clogged, or it felt like it was just hanging out and didn't have its full clarity moving forward just yet. We just had a new moon that happened here in this 6th house. So maybe you get some information about a project or a client that wants to move forward, or you get those health results back. Whatever it is, Mercury is easing up and heading towards its post-retrograde shadow time now. So this is going to help information and communication really gradually improve in that 6th house space. Now, on the 25th, 26th, we've got Neptune in a sextile with Pluto here. Saturn is going to go retrograde at 14 degrees of Aries, and we've got the North Node entering into the vibration of Aquarius. Okay. Now, hopefully you checked out the video with Celeste and I talking about July as well, because it's very busy, and these were the days that we were really focused on. As Saturn is going retrograde here, it's going retrograde in your 3rd house, so it's asking you to review commitments that you have taken on, to review your mastery, to review your maturity around your communication space, you know, your communication style, your mental habits, the stories you've been telling yourself, how you're communicating in siblings. What does that website look like, right? There are all of these small details, but Saturn is looking for and demanding your maturity. It's saying, are you taking responsibility for this 3rd house area of your life and how you're showing up to it? And if you are, Saturn is delivering you applause for applying that mastery. Now, the North Node is going to move into your sign for over the next 18 months. And in that time, this is a destiny call where the North Node goes, we're being pulled forward towards a destiny. And your destiny at this point in this next 18 months is greater authority, greater confidence, greater presence. When nobody else is looking at you, Aquarius, or they know there's no expectations on you, how are you leading, governing, moving yourself, and bringing your Aquarian vibration into the world? This nodal shift is going to directly be influential in your personal evolution. It's really about you. Now, it's going to be the me and the we axis because that South Node is in Leo, right? So we're looking for, how do you find the space in the middle where you integrate the me and the we in your relationships? I'm really curious to hear, what does that even bring up for you when I say that? Put that in the comment section down below. Okay, as we are going to close out the month here on the 29th, we've got the full moon happening at 6 degrees of Aquarius. We've also got Saturn coming into a conjunction with Jupiter in Leo. So the full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment at 6 degrees of Aquarius. So right here in your first house. What are you ending? What are you making an acknowledgement of? Or what are you going to course correct so that you can pivot and commit down a road that does feel like your destiny? Meanwhile, when the Sun and Jupiter are coming together over here in Leo in your 7th house, this whole day feels very full moon. I think the whole rest of July, the end of the month, feels full moon because it activates the relationship axes, right? And the questions are going to be, first of all, before you're partnering with anybody else, how are you partnering with yourself? Right? And if you're not partnering with anybody else, how are you learning and growing in relationships? We can't learn and grow in relationships if there's no relationships, right? It could be, this is a full moon time, a particular relationship in your life reaches in its end, or it reaches, I think I'd rather say not maybe its end, but an important milestone for you, right? Or you recognize in a relationship, I've been sacrificing something too much and I need to allow this to be more balanced. Whatever it is, I can say that this full moon is deeply personal for you. And I will really look forward to hearing after this full moon passes, how well you feel like you are doing at this point in the journey with embracing all of the parts of yourself that make you Aquarius and then sharing that in whatever kind of partnerships you're available for. All right, my beautiful Aquarius, it's a beautiful month. It's a busy month. I hope to see you in the weeklies every week because we have a ton to talk about. That this would be a 16-hour video if we tried to do it. So I love you very much. Have a great month, and I will see you in August. Hello, my absolutely brilliant and beautiful Pisces friends, and welcome to your horoscope for July of 2026. And Pisces, this is one of the important months of the year. It's like the most important month of the year. It really is, besides birthday time, but I genuinely mean it. July brings us extraordinary astrology. There are conversations happening with our outer planets, our professor planets, which tell us that we are genuinely in the space of reshaping our globe. The energy, multiple long-term cycles are going to be affected. Societies will be affected. Some things are going to be so breakthrough and exciting, but it will all be symptoms and signs of moving forward. So it's not just another month. July really is the kind of astrology that is like we're in rare moments. Now, with Neptune being one of your ruling planets, and it's newly here in the vibration of Aries, and then we've got Jupiter, your other ruling planet, in Leo, and then activating all of these major transits to the outer planets, there's a lot of speed and there's a lot of heat that is actually going on this month. Now, the big thing I want you to know, Pisces, is that as all of these changes are happening for the greater portion of the year, the vibration's been out there and we've all been getting kind of tuned to it so that we could live in the vibration of the new professor planets. But this month, as things are changing, you are in the game. You are in the game, okay? So let's jump in, Pisces, and see what this month has to offer. And we're coming in spicy right at the beginning of the month. On the 4th and the 5th, Mars is very busy in activation. On the 4th, we've got Mars in a conjunction to Uranus, and this is happening at 3 degrees of Gemini. Now, literally, I feel like it's interesting to say that the month begins with fireworks because Uranus and Mars, as they come together, they can be explosive. They can be explosive. Literally, metaphorically, they can be explosive, right? So here on the 4th of July, as Mars and Uranus are coming together, this is lighting up your 4th house space, home, family, real estate, property. And as Mars and Uranus come together, this can be sudden movement, sudden motion, unexpected things, impatience, a development that is some kind of surprise breakthrough, change the direction kind of energy. A family issue that's never been a family issue, or maybe a little bit, but not a ton, if suddenly needs your attention and it needs it now. You're moving your house quickly because something developed unexpectedly, right? There's an important conversation that happens and it changes the direction of everything. So it's a very fast moving day, but because Mars and Uranus, as they come together, we tend to see them as a signature of volatility. I want you to be really, really mindful at the beginning of this month, even if there is family stress, be in check with your emotions, which doesn't mean don't feel your emotions. Feel, process, but do it as consciously as is possible so that you can really work and point that energy in a direction that you want to go. Now, I do feel like there's some support because on the same day, Mars is going to come into a sextile with Neptune, who's over here in your 2nd house space. Okay. So this is nice. This is something about money, how money flows towards you, your worth, your value. And then on the 5th, we see Mars come into a trine with Pluto, who's in Aquarius, back into your 12th house space. So that's lighting up all things behind the scenes, spiritual healing, transformation, all of these things. These supportive aspects that are coming, I want to believe will really help tone down the volatility of the Mars-Uranus for you personally. Instead, I think they help you find really constructive solutions instead of destructive solutions. Now, what initially, because Mars and Uranus goes first, right? That's happening before these other two. So what may initially appear as something disruptive or like this is not going to work for me, that's the thing that I actually think ends up bringing a lot of liberation to you. All right, when we get to the 7th, we're going to see that Neptune is going to step into its retrograde at 4 degrees of Aries. Now, first of all, when Neptune is direct, we can kind of move in between the worlds. We can create something in the fantasy space and just enjoy it for the hell of enjoying it, or we can pull it into a material space and build something out of it. My favorite example are chairs. Like before a chair was a chair, it was just a thought. And now we have chairs everywhere in the material realm. But when Neptune goes retrograde, we have a harder time accessing the dreamy space and reality gets really real. It gets really concrete. Now for you, Neptune is your ruling planet. So it's really going to invite you in this very concrete way to examine your relationship with worth, because this is happening in your 2nd house, Pisces. What is going on with your money? What is going on with your personal worth? Because it's not just financial. Neptune is considered to be a higher octave of Venus. So very much so, where is the receiving? Where have you undervalued yourself because maybe you've had a pain around receiving, around money, around being creative and being allowed to be paid well for that? Accepting less than you deserve in other places. Neptune really asks you to review this, but it's done in a very compassionate way, right? Neptune doesn't come over and whack you down. It's going to do it in a pretty compassionate way, but it is a retrograde that you've got a long set of months to redefine yourself here, soften into yourself, soften into your flow, so that as you come out, you've redefined your relationship with abundance, right? If you have not jumped into the Venus Reset program, Pisces, please jump in, get a relationship with your Venus like no other, particularly how to let these things flow towards you. Now, on the 9th, speaking of Venus is going to move into the vibration of Virgo. And as Venus moves into Virgo, this lights up your 7th house space, conscious chosen one-on-one relationships. When Venus comes into the space, Venus is not a hustle heart. It is trying to soften relationships, making those one-to-one connections, clients, contracts. It's making it just a lot easier to navigate. And because Virgo is your polar sign, Venus here is actually trying to soften this or bring a little bit of balance. So the relationships can actually become a source of healing for you instead of so much frustration. Or support is arriving from people, but again, you have to know how to say yes and to receive it, right? Maybe there's a partnership of any variety in your life to include. You're in an open court case and you know who the other person is on the other side, but it's becoming a bit more cooperative now, right? Whatever the story is, Venus is trying to attract in a benefit towards you. Now, when we get to the 14th, we've got a new moon happening in fellow water energy Cancer at 21 degrees of Cancer. So we're going to be planting your seeds of intention here in your 5th house: joy, pleasure, play, creativity, romance, things having to do with children. And this is one of the most beautiful moons, I think, of the year, because you have the opportunity to begin again. But as you're beginning again and beginning fresh, remember, Mercury is still retrograde here in this Cancerian vibration. So likely something you've already been seeing in this 5th house has caught your attention. And you understand that in order to have it really move forward and to begin again, it's got to begin on new footing. A different way to come at a creative project. Maybe there's a beginning of a new romance that is coming your way. And romance doesn't have to be the sexual kind. Maybe you begin to romance your life, soften into the reality that you are creative and valuable and abundant as you are. You can be spending more time with children, right? Whatever it is, this moon is reminding you that joy is not the extra. It's not the dessert after you suffered enough all day long. Joy is available now, and it gets to be planned for, okay? Now, when we get to the 15th, really to the end of the month, busy, busy, busy. So I do hope that you will join me in the weekly videos, because we really are going to need time to dive into each of these. Now, July 15th, we've got Uranus in a sextile to Neptune here, and it's a major aspect of 2026. Uranus is over here in your 4th house space, so waking all of those things up, but it is in a sextile with Neptune, your ruling planet, in your 2nd. Now, collectively, I think that this is a signal that there is an evolution in our financial systems or around money, or there's a change of the structure to it, something like that. Personally, I think that it encourages you to innovate your home, innovate security, innovate things around your money, innovate how you allow things to flow to you. You know, you might discover some completely new way of either creating stability for yourself or allowing finances to flow towards you. And this doesn't mean that it has to be revolutionary. You know, sometimes what it is you didn't realize that you could use a payment processor to charge for the sweaters that you knit. You've just been only collecting cash when you're at the local market or something like that, right? It can be something that is still here, but it's a very basic change and it makes a big difference in your life. Now, on the 18th, we've got Uranus in a trine to Pluto. I like this because I think it reminds you that even if you've had old fears around change or the changes that are coming in society or where the world is going, you are freer from some of these old patterns of fear than I think you have realized, you know, and what a precious thing when fear starts to lose its grip on us and we're able to say, okay, my healing and my hope are allowed to accelerate again. When we get to the 20th and the 21st, Jupiter in a trine to Neptune, Jupiter opposing Pluto, Jupiter in a sextile to Uranus. Jupiter is a busy, busy beetle this particular week. And I like these energies because the first thing they do is restore honest to God hope. They restore hope. Jupiter is like, you can do this. You can do this. As a matter of fact, you're already doing it. So let's just keep going with that. It's the Jupiter-Pluto opposition that has my attention, because as they are meeting, first of all, in order to keep you grounded in your hope, it's asking you to look back, just go back even 5 years in your life, Pisces, no matter what you think life is today or how it feels. Look back 5 years ago. How much have you changed in 5 years? That's going to be a precious question to answer. You know, what version of you existed and was living and moving and being in your life then, and they just don't exist anymore, you know? I want you to take a moment and have this milestone of this opposition to appreciate yourself, to pause long enough to notice that you are moving in your journey. And if the truth is that you are not, that is telling you the exact place to bear down for a little bit of the work, or to soften and release an expectation that you don't want to carry anymore. As we get to the 22nd, we see the sun entering into the vibration of Leo. And on the 23rd, we'll see Mercury come direct in Cancer. Leo season always activates your 6th house space of daily routines, health, wellness, mental health and wellness, to include the way you speak and you think about yourself, your body. And I like to think about the 6th house as well as the way we are productive during the day. What does productivity look like or mean to you? So this is the spotlight. For the next 4 weeks, the spotlight is on how do you make practical improvements to keep fire in your daily routine, to keep things alive, keep those health habits alive, to keep simplify your workload, burn. This is Sun in Leo. Burn away what is not working. Burn away or re-examine how to bring joy into the things that you're doing. If joy was a part of your equation, how could you create a better schedule? What would a schedule look like with more joy in it, right? These are beautiful questions as we get here. Now, as Mercury comes direct, it's still got to travel its post-retrograde shadow time where it will finish August 6th. But as it does come direct, if there's been any projects that have been kind of stalled, if you felt kind of stalled, if you had a little idea or paperwork or any of these kinds of things, you will have the opportunity now to push those things forward, right? They're going to start to slowly wake up, crickle, crackle, and keep moving. Now, as we are going to get to the end of the month, there is a lot going on, but these are the transits I think are really important. On the 25th, we're going to see that Neptune's in a sextile to Pluto. Okay, big deal. We'll talk about that more in the weekly. But Saturn is going to go retrograde in Aries, and the North Node is going to move in Aquarius. This actually has my attention a little bit more than our outer planets. Because as Saturn is going to take this retrograde here at 14 degrees of Aries, this is in your 2nd house. So Pisces, Saturn is asking you to reassess your 2nd house, a financial structure, how again you allow money to flow towards you, long-term security, your relationship with receiving and abundance in this house. And then as the North Node enters into Aquarius, it lights up your 12th house space. This begins an 18-month period and journey focused on the destiny of your spiritual growth, the destiny of your spiritual wellness and condition, surrender, healing, rest, the genuine act of receiving and releasing, particularly things in the past. Now, when the North Node is traveling through the 12th house, I like to think of this very much so as guardian angel energy, something or someone typically that you really need to help you deepen during this cycle and go towards the direction you're supposed to be going to get to your rebirth that comes from this 12th house is likely on their way. And this is a thing that keeps coming to me. It was sitting with me as I was looking at this for the 12th house, is I feel like that North Node is going to ask you the question, like, what needs to be completed in this next 18 months? It needs to be completed and released before you can really step into your next chapter. So let me know in the comment section down below, Pisces, what is that even sounding like, feeling like to you? As we're going to close out the month on the 29th, we've got a full moon happening at 6 degrees of Aquarius, more energy being pumped into this 12th house space, and the Sun and Jupiter coming together in conjunction in Leo. So this is a really kind of interesting activation. The whole set of energy feels full moony, right? Now the full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment. We have to release something, say that's not part of the plan anymore, so that we can pivot and continue to commit down a road towards the future. And again, rest, healing, closure, spirituality, things going on behind the scenes, dreams, emotional processing, addictions, recovery, processing people who are in particular institutions. Has there been someone in the NICU in your life? Has there been a suicide in your life? Is there someone who's in jail? Is there someone in a nursing home and you're needing to process through these, right? Now, unlike some of the full moons that demand action, for you this time, I think this full moon is a bit more in the space of the reflection. You know, you're feeling exhausted. If you are burnt out, the first thing I want you to do is ask yourself what you're lying to yourself about. Are you lying that you don't need rest? Are you lying that you don't? What is it? What story is happening in there that is, it is a lie and it is keeping you burnt out? What is it? Is there some kind of emotional cycle up and down that has continued to go on for a while, and now it's starting to reach its completion as we're under this full moon energy and in the following weeks, right? Now, as the Sun and Jupiter are coming together, it's an amplification, honestly, I think, to the lunation that we're having anyways. And instead of having this vibration of, I'm going to push through, I actually think that it is encouraging you to slow down and to listen, right? Like the answers that you're looking for under this Sun Jupiter, it's amplifying and it's making things bigger, but it's actually, I think, showing you that the answers are going to come from daily stillness, not from more noise and pushing through. All right, my beautiful Pisces friends, busy, busy month. It is a busy month. I don't want you to be scared. I want you to take it one day at a time. If you are getting overwhelmed with the astrology of June, put it down so that you can breathe, okay? All right, my beautiful friends, I love you a ton. Have a great month, and I will see you in August.